Hi everyone. Hi everyone. Dengar tak?
Halo Prof.
Okey.
Assalamualaikum.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Apa khabar semua?
Alhamdulillah. Terima kasih Prof join session kita pada pagi ini.
Terima kasih atas kesudian menjemput kita.
Kami berbesar hati menerima kesudian Prof untuk serta dalam program kita pagi ini.
Terima kasih atas perkenan semua.
InsyaAllah. Mudah-mudahan program kita berjalan lancar. Sebentar lagi jam 10, 2 minit lebih kurang.
InsyaAllah. Amin. InsyaAllah.
Dia tak boleh masuk juga, Sam.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And a very good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Yang berbahagia, Profesor Emeritus Dr. Jamal Usman, Presiden Akademi Profesor Malaysia. Yang berbahagia, Profesor Teknologis Dr. Zaidatun Tasir, Chairperson Education and Human Development Cluster. Distinguished speakers and respected participants. Thank you very much to all speakers and participants, and definitely appreciate everyone's presence to the Transformational Leadership Webinar, Leading with Integrity and Accountability. Before we begin our event, let us recite Ummul Kitab Al-Fatihah. Alhamdulillah, we are grateful to have our prominent speakers with us. Today, we have 5 speakers. The first one is Yang Berbahagia, Tan Sri Nurul Ainur Muhammad Nur, Chairman, University College Yayasan Pahang. Professor Dr. Abriza Abdullah from Library and Information Science Department, University Malaya. We have Professor Abhimanyu Virakumarasivam, Provost at Sunway University. And then the Associate Professor, Dr. Muhiza Mustafa, Director, International Mobility and Collaboration Center, University Science Malaysia. And far away from Bangkok, we have Assistant Professor Dr. Romian Konsai Kanon, Simeo Raihat. She's the Director of Simeo Raihat, based in Bangkok, Thailand. And to all esteemed speakers, thank you very much for your participation, supporting this event. And we really appreciate that. And I'm convinced that your knowledge and experience will be meaningful guidance for all the participants. Now, a very brief introduction to our program today. This is actually a Vice Chancellor Special Project, or VCSP, P101 World-Class Experts, with main objective to establish a structured guidance and mentoring program to develop world-class experts from colleges and faculties in the field of social sciences and humanities. This is aimed at ensuring the sustainability of a pool of world-class academic leaders to achieve UITM's mission of becoming a globally respected university by the year 2024, and subsequently a globally renowned university, or GRU, by 2025. Additionally, this project aims to prepare academic members to navigate their careers at an international level. And the philosophy of this project is to identify and recognize UITM professors in the field of social sciences and humanities who are globally distinguished, and to ensure their legacy is preserved, especially in terms of expertise and international connections, through a structured guidance and mentoring program to develop world-class faculty members. So, ladies and gentlemen, this event is actually a collaboration between UITM and Academy Professor Malaysia. So for your information, our team is at the Academy now, organizing this event. So we thank the President, Professor Emeritus Dr. Jamal, for allowing us to be here today. And to begin with, let me kindly invite the President of the Academy Professor Malaysia to deliver a welcoming remark. So please welcome Professor Emeritus Dr. Jamal Osman.
Thank you, moderator.
So please welcome.
Thank you, Professor Moderator. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Very good morning to all of us. Salam sejahtera to all of us. Esteemed speakers, ladies and gentlemen who are present in this webinar, I'm very pleased to welcome everyone present today to our webinar entitled Leading with Integrity and Accountability. As mentioned by the moderator, this webinar is a collaborative effort between Academy Professor Malaysia and University Technology Mara UITM. This webinar is, as I understood, is a project under the Vice Chancellor's Special Project, VCSP of UITM. And I must say it is an honor, it is a privilege for both APM and UITM via this webinar to inspire academics, colleagues, as well as administrators to be at the forefront of knowledge building and human capital development. At APM, we are committed in connecting with our members from academia, from various disciplines, as we work together in sharing and imparting knowledge to our stakeholders and to the community at large. This collaborative effort with UITM under the VCSP initiative reflects very well that we, both APM and UITM, will go the extra mile, making more efforts in building a more dynamic ecosystem for academics, academia, administrators, and everyone else here today. We know that the leadership is a field of study which is complex, dynamics, and of course, human-centered. Hence, in this webinar, we have a line of prominent speakers with wealth of experiences and invaluable insights on higher education and leadership. And we believe their experiences will be a point of reference for academic leaders in building a credible academic ecosystem for the sake of our future generation. I was further informed that this particular initiative, VCSP initiative, is a mentor-mentee program. There's this focus on grooming associate professors and senior lecturers in embracing good values and good qualities, exemplary qualities, to ensure that leaders, or rather great leaders, will build great leaders in addressing the leadership dilemma that we are facing in higher education today. Let us all embrace the true spirit of learning and academic leading, as these are crucial in grooming and building the right leadership pipeline in our higher education for our next generation. And on behalf of the organizer, particularly on behalf of APM, Academic Professor Malaysia, my sincere hope is that everyone will benefit from this webinar. Once again, congratulations and thank you so much to the UITM group under the VCSP initiative for this very noble activity, as they have put in much commitment and dedication in terms of time, togetherness, and learning spirit to be on board with Academic Professor Malaysia to organize this noble web series. Thank you. Have a productive webinar to all.
Thank you very much, Professor Emeritus Dr. Jamal Othman, for your insightful remark. Ladies and gentlemen, without much ado, I will hand over the session to our moderator, Associate Professor Dr. Putri Rohani Maga Abdul Rahim, to lead our sessions. Yeah, so please welcome Dr. Putri. Thank you very much. Okay. This activity.
Yeah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh, and good morning, everyone. Before we begin, let me share the housekeeping for the session with the speaker. Presenter is only given 20 minutes to share your talk. After the presentation, we will have a Q&A session for 10 minutes. Participants are welcome to pose questions. Please write your questions in the chat. We will address them during the Q&A session. Thank you for your attention and participation. Welcome to our webinar on higher education institutions from the SDG perspective. It's truly a pleasure to be the moderator for the session today. United by our commitment to sustainable development and the transformative role of higher education institution. The United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, SDGs, provide a universal framework for addressing the most pressing challenges facing our world today, from poverty and inequality to climate change and quality education. Higher education institutions play a critical role in advancing these goals through education, research, community engagement, and by setting an example as sustainable and equitable organization. Today, we will explore how higher education institutions can integrate the SDGs into their core missions and operations. We will discuss strategies for fostering a culture of sustainability, creating impactful partnerships, and leveraging education and research to drive positive change. We are privileged to have a remarkable lineup of speakers who bring a wealth of education, of knowledge, and experience in this field. They will share their insights on best practices, challenges, and innovative approaches to transformational leadership in higher education. You may ask questions, share your experiences, and engage with our speakers. Your contributions are vital as we work together to create a sustainable and equitable future. Now, without further ado, let's start our journey into the integration of the SDGs in higher education. It is my honor to introduce our first speaker, Tan Sri Prof. Dr. Nurul Ainur Muhammad Noor, who is a distinguished scholar and public figure with extensive contributions to academia and public service. She holds a PhD in political science from the University of New York and Master of Social Science in Development Administration from the University of Birmingham and a Bachelor from the University of Malaya. Her illustrious career spans key roles in Malaysia's public sector, including Secretary General at the Ministry of Higher Education and Ministry of Science, Technology and Innovation. Internationally, she served as a senior advisor for the World Bank and was elected President of UNESCO's Science Commission, marking a significant achievement for Malaysia. Currently, Tan Sri Prof. Dr. Nurul Ainur chairs the University College of Yayasan Pahang and plays a vital role in SDG initiatives as a professor at the Jeffrey Center of SDGs, Sunway University. Her leadership extends to the Pahang Economic Advisor Council and LED campaign on SDGs, highlighting her ongoing commitment to advancing education, sustainable development, and social transformation both nationally and globally. Please join me in welcoming Tan Sri Prof. Dr. Nurul Ainur to the virtual stage. Yomo. Okay, I'll pass the session to Prof. Nur. Okay.
All right, thank you very much. Thank you very much for the brief introduction. As you know, my name is Nurul Ainur Muhammad Noor. And first, I have to say Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and a very good morning to all. I'm kind of excited to be with all of you here today. I guess from Malaysia only, or maybe from other parts of ASEAN region, I'm not too sure. But whatever it is, I'm so excited to be with you all today. And I would like to thank the organizers, Academy Professor Malaysia, APM, and University Technology MARA, UITM, for extending an invitation for me to be a speaker today. I'm supposed to do the scene setting for higher education institutions from the SDGs perspective. Well, as being mentioned earlier on, the main objective of the SDGs is to end poverty and inequality, protect the planet, and ensure that all people enjoy health, justice, and prosperity. Next slide, please. Diana, next slide. Yeah, another. Next slide. Next slide. Can someone work on? No. The third slide. Next. Next, please. Another slide. Next slide. Okay. That is too fast. Can you go back, please? Okay, next, and stop there. No. Diana, can you assist me, please? That's too far. Again, I want my third slide. This is the first one. Next, the next slide. Yes, this is it. Oh, no, go back. This is it. Okay, in this regard, go back to the earlier slide than this. Okay, I'm sorry about this. In this regard, the quality education of SDGs is listed as goal number 4 and indicates to ensure inclusive and equitable quality education and promote lifelong learning opportunities for all. Education has been the cornerstone policy in eradicating poverty and upgrading the lives of the global population. Can you go back to the ESG just now? The earlier slide. I think something is...
Perhaps you can stop and share again, Tan Sri. Then no, they will stop and share again. Then perhaps they can synchronize again.
Yeah. So how do I stop here? Is it?
Not you. I think they have to do.
Okay. Can I go to slide number 3 earlier than this? After this. This is a game already. No, before this. Okay, put it that way. Okay. Higher education is the focus of my presentation today, having been involved in higher education as a policymaker when I was in the civil service of Malaysia and now a professor of practice at Sunway University. I personally believe that with the right strategies and approaches, the higher education institutions and its community at domestic and global levels can flourish and benefit the various multi-stakeholders. Can I go to the earlier slide? Not this one, the earlier slide, because I want to explain the framework that I'm looking at. Earlier one. Okay, stop. Yeah, earlier one. Yes, stop it. Stop there, please. The quadruple helix. Yeah, stop here, please. The quadruple helix model, this is the quadruple helix model on policy making was adopted by the government of Malaysia during my tenure as the civil servant, yeah. And then I was the Secretary General of MOSTI. And at the point of time, we used this model looking into the collaboration of government, academic, industry, and citizen. So in this regard too, I'm looking at the collaboration part, whereby I believe the academia has been given a task or rather a responsibility to be involved in policy making of the nation, because this is an official then quadruple helix model to be utilized by the ministries in Malaysia. And also, this model actually, sees the interplay of the many players, of the various players, to ensure of the growth of the nation and the prosperity of our nation in innovation, in education, in welfareism and other areas. Next, please. Slide 5. So, okay, stop here. All right. So on another note, I believe by now all of us here know or have heard of the acronym ESG, because this ESG being utilized by the private sector, it says environmental, social, and governance. The acronym is actually a framework that assists stakeholders in the private sector, in managing opportunities and also to or risk on sustainability issues. So by virtue of that, today, I am actually recommending promoting this ESG to be utilized by higher education institution, but I have omitted the word environmental and replaced it with education, social, and governance. So in this context and in this perspective, I'm looking at ESG and will be doing my presentation based on the ESG that I mentioned now. Yeah. Next, please. On collaboration, on collaboration, this is the mantra that has been overwhelmingly used, I would say, but in actual fact, it's still credible in the context of higher education. It's important to encourage, collaboration among educators, students, and also parents, the civil society, to so that we can have a much more comprehensive and a coordinated higher educations in its journey of excellence. As educators, we need to come together and establish a collaborative bank or knowledge bank underlining the strength of each organization. Yeah. For example, one of Sunway University's strength is the establishment of Jeffrey Sachs Center, the Jeffrey Sachs Center of Sustainable Development. Okay, this center was established by the individual who worked on the UN SDG itself, Professor Jeffrey Sachs. And from my perspective, as a former policymaker, it is imperative that the higher education institutions in Malaysia, or for that matter in the region, in the region of ASEAN, collaborate and utilize the strengths of this center, especially in the areas of sustainability, for example, climate change. And next slide, please. And also, you talk about academic partnership is another approach that is viable for its long-term excellence in higher education. And in line with this, Sunway University Hospital too has forged a partnership with Harvard University Medical Center, and whereby this is to ensure that the state-of-the-art technology and learning processes are continuously embraced by both parties. So we are looking at forging excellence together. Yeah. And next, please. Also on collaboration, in the case of UCYP University, for example, an MOU was established with Chengdu Trade Industry and Technical College to Alliance Steel in Kuantan. So the main objective is for the entities, both entities, to provide employment opportunities for the UCYP University graduates. So each of the collaboration will have an objective that is to be thought about, to be taught by the leadership of each organization. Sunway, for example, and also UCYP University. Next, please. Can I go to the next slide? Yeah, again, academic collaboration here is another approach that can enhance the sustainability and quality of higher education. In this case, UCYP University has established a dual degree understanding with Yarmouk University of Jordan. This entails having 2 certificates by both universities. So, looking into the examples given by me as a policymaker, and now that I'm involved with the higher education institution, collaboration from my perspective can also be in the form of partnerships in areas such as research projects, students exchange, lecturers attachment, as well as staff training. Higher education, HEIs, can continuously utilize its various strengths by collaborating and creating innovative projects and solutions in the areas of sustainability. So we are talking about leadership sustainability here, and also excellence in the context of higher HEIs, for example. Next, please. So the second pillar, now also on the pillar on education, yeah, is innovation, yeah. Innovation, I would like to relate an incident that happened to the world community on the 19th of July, on Friday last week. And the aviation industry was at a standstill with the collapse of aviation technology supported by Microsoft and CrowdStrike. So the Microsoft outage paralyzed the communications of air travelers, running the weakness of technological dependence. So I was traveling back to Malaysia from Los Angeles Airport on 18th of July. Since my flight was almost midnight, I actually missed the incident by a few hours. So the story here is that one country that managed to escape the onslaught of the Microsoft outage was China. Why? China had over the years replaced the universal technology with its homegrown technology. homegrown products. So they have vigorously supported their higher education institutions to undertake innovation at a higher level. And they have gradually, over the years, discarded the universal technology. So in other words, China did not suffer because of the smartness of their leaders in ensuring that they are not dependent on one technology, and for that matter, outside technology. So homegrown technology is actually the way for us to go thinking and also to replace whatever we have in the future. So a big lesson to be learned here, nations, including Malaysia, must support its homegrown technologies. So can I go to the next slide, please? It was, this is the onslaught of the global outage of IT recently. Yeah, this is in Malaysia. Next, please. So more on pillar on innovation. So it was with this in mind in 2014, and when I was the Secretary General of MOSTI, the first National Innovation and Commercialization Exhibition, or NICE, I think all of you here must have heard about it, was held. That was in 2014. So the main objective was to promote innovation activities at national level. MOSTI then undertook the responsibility of innovation and commercialization with quadruple helix model being mentioned to me earlier on, whereby the players are namely public and private sectors, academia, as well as civil society, they were involved in this NICE. And next, please, slide 12. Ministry of Higher Education also plays a vital role in innovation activities in higher education institutions. So when I was in MOSTI, the present Vice Chancellor of University Technology Malaysia, Dr. Fauzi, cooperated with the ministry during the big floods in Pekan in 2014. So they invented the water treatment system, which was utilized by the local community for drinking and also for bathing. The public-private research network, I think all of you have heard about it too, witnessed utilization of technology to assist the grassroots entrepreneurs and community. The small projects include potato peeler, as shown here in the picture, the above one, and cooking dodol, our Malaysian delicacy. So these are small projects, innovative projects, and it costs something about 10,000 ringgit during my time. We had about 10,000 ringgit, 20,000 ringgit, and the lecturers are more than happy to work with their grassroots level to go through this invention for the benefit of our community. So again, I must applaud the work of our lecturers in supporting the grassroots level entrepreneurship. Next slide, please. And this is actually the one that was invented by University Technology Malaysia, a water filtration device that helped flood affected areas in Pekan in 2014. Yeah. And next slide, please. I'm talking about more on innovation now, that I've encountered during my my work as a policymaker. And here, Malaysian Space Agency, MISA, the new name is MISA. Then it was Agency Remote Sensing Malaysia, during my time. So it is under MOSTI, and during my tenure, it had established cooperation with the academia, and both parties have come out with several inventions, and this is one of it. It's called a fishing site is identified, whereby it is extracted from remote sensing images. So this shows again that innovation has assisted the poor to sustain their living. And there are many innovations or inventions being made by our lecturers that are being promoted, but not really highly promoted by the government per se, but by the small, by the small private sector getting hold of the products, commercialization at a lower level, at a smaller level. So again, I would very much like to have the government making sure that more inputs of the lecturers in with regard to innovation will be enhanced by them. And now, and also not to forget, artificial intelligence is the new key on the block. And I guess now we are readying ourselves to go into this AI world. And again, the government, they have been saying about it. They should be supported as, which I think the Ministry of Higher Education would support us on this matter. Now, let me go to the second pillar. Next, that is social. Pillar on social, needs-based approach. For me, needs-based approach should be prioritized by higher education institutions. This entails into creating an inclusive learning environment, accommodating diverse abilities, backgrounds, and learning preferences, and ensuring equitable access to education. Yeah, and the outcomes of this approach are actually, by doing that, you are actually enhancing student engagement, motivation, and achievement. Besides fostering lifelong learning, reaching full potential and promoting educational equity should be made an agenda by our higher education institutions, promoting educational equity. Yeah. And again, with regard to needs-based approach too, I see the importance of the personalization approach that is recognizing and addressing the unique strengths, weaknesses, and learning styles of each student, which actually can go a long way for the students. Besides also providing financial support for B40 students, mentoring and special class. The outcomes will boost confidence and self-esteem of students, increase passion in learning, and also develop communication skills of our students. So it is with this in mind that UCYP University we have been reaching out to the marginalized groups like the Orang Asli in Pahang, and they are the Orang Asli in Pahang. Volunteerism is an art of communication that we need to embed in our students. And through volunteerism and making the Orang Asli students studying at UCYP as our ambassadors and influencers, meaning to say we have Orang Asli in our universities, in our university of UCYP, and we have them as ambassadors reaching out to their kampungs, yeah, to their kampung, and then becoming influencers to attract or to entice the others to come study at our university. So actually, they managed to penetrate into their community better than the rest of us. Next slide, please. Next slide, please. Yeah. Now on volunteerism, volunteerism among university students. No, that's too fast. Can you go back, please? One more. Volunteerism among university students to approach the marginalized communities, such as the single mothers, the elderly, and the disabled. Yeah. So these are important elements, the marginalized communities, to be reached out by our HEIs. So indirectly and through this kind of communications and interactions, students can learn about community services, can learn about grassroots level. Yeah. So the slide here witness, for example, tree replanting program. And the next one is Friends of Earth program. The third one is, we have even program for digital savvy housewife, reaching out to the housewives. Can I go to the next slide, please? Next slide. Okay, social innovation came alive at University Malaysia Kelantan during the COVID pandemic in 2021. As the saying goes, one can thrive during chaos. It was chaos, but you can still thrive. The former VC of UMK then, Dato Dr. Nur Azizi, led his team in the manufacturing of PPE and 3D shield. Yeah, Dr. Azizi garnered a team of students to be involved in the volunteering activities. The products were handed over to the Kelantan Malaysian Red Crescent. This again shows that with the right leadership and commitment, the higher education institutions can make a positive impact on the students as well as the community. So these are examples of volunteerism at its best for the higher education institutions. Next slide, please. And in 2017, a group of 30 students undertook entrepreneurship training at Alibaba Business School in Hangzhou, China. And for information, Alibaba is the biggest e-commerce in the world. Our students had the opportunity to go for a 2-week training on e-commerce. They learn about the business itself from packaging to marketing. And I was with the group for about a few days during their stay in Hangzhou. So my observation from this trip or visit is that leaders in higher education institutions must acquire the art of negotiation skills. Why? Then, during that point of time in 2017, we had limited resources too. But both parties, Ministry of Higher Education and also Alibaba Business School, we agreed on we made an agreement that MOHE would sponsor, MOHE as in Ministry of Higher Education or KPT, would sponsor the flight tickets while Alibaba Business School would look into the logistic part. Hence, the entrepreneurship program to China materialized. So this is where you need to negotiate with your with the other counterpart, you know. And also, next, can I go to the next slide, please? So it did not stop here, yeah. Can you go further up? Yeah, it did not stop there. Yeah, it did not stop in Hangzhou because you know, then we had only 30 students, a small group of students exposed to Alibaba e-commerce. So we managed to negotiate further that we want a team of Alibaba people to come to Malaysia and train more of our students from IPTA. Yeah. So the team of Alibaba Business School came to Malaysia. They came to Malaysia. That they came a few months later after the Hangzhou event, and yes, they did the training for us. And at the end of the day, looking at it, I would say it is all about the art of negotiation among leaders of higher educations to ensure that this kind of events or this kind of collaboration, this kind of partnership will materialize at the end of the day. Yeah. So my last pillar, the next one, my last pillar is on governance. The last pillar is on governance. Yeah. We need higher education with souls. Higher education institutions with a human face. The touch of soul can make a huge difference to the global community. Whilst we create HEIs with the background of achievements in rankings such as QS, THES, and so forth, more importantly, we should all along promote the embedding of integrity and nurturing our students with transparency and accountability of their every action. The future generations are holding the torch of prosperity and goodness of the world. So we have to assist them to ensure that they are doing this for the future generations. Then only we can proudly say that we have achieved in the embodiment of excellence in our students. So next slide, please. So moral values actually should be embraced by each of our organization, such as respect, justice, and others. Next slide, please. And organizational staffs from the various departments of universities can also be involved in training and reskilling on the new state-of-the-art technologies and the latest development of procedures, regulations that are being adopted at global level. Yeah, blockchain, for example, they need to know what it's all about. IoT, they need to know what it's all about. Yeah, this will ensure a wholesome involvement of individuals of higher HEIs in sustainable development management. So in conclusion, I would say that the pillars of education, social and governance, or ESG and HEIs, are crucial in rebuilding and elevating higher education institutions to a premier level. Involvement of all parties and individuals towards this objective can ensure the success of quality education as envisaged in the fourth goal of SDGs. So on that note, thank you very much for giving me the opportunity, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much, and do keep in touch. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Tan Sri, for very insightful sharing. Okay, I believe all of you, the guests, do have some questions. You may post and write your questions in the chat. So I will read the question to Tan Sri. Tan Sri, there's one question. What strategies can academic institutions employ to support marginalized or underrepresented groups in assessing and succeeding in higher education? I repeat the question here. What strategies can academic institutions employ to support marginalized or underrepresented groups in assessing and succeeding in higher education?
Thank you. Just now, I did mention about marginalized group in my presentation just now. When you talk about marginalized group, they are OKU or disabled group. Yeah, we have the ethnic minorities in Sabah, in Sarawak, or in Pahang, or the orang asli in Pahang, and also Johor and Perak and so forth. Yeah, so this is where that there should be a comprehensive effort by the organization, by the university itself, HEI, to look into who are the marginalized groups in our organization. Learning after taking down, stock taking of the groups, then you can strategize what are the areas that you want to focus on. There is no one size fits all. Because when you talk about marginalized group or orang asli in Pahang will be different from the ethnic minorities in Sabah or Sarawak due to their culture, yeah, their upbringing. So therefore, especially when it comes to culture, you have to be sensitive in the sense that you have to be careful to look or to work on the culture of the different types of individuals or the different types of groups, especially. So, in other words, I wouldn't say that there is one size fits all. So you have to learn about the culture. You have to learn about the environment they were living in and they are living in now in the universities. Yeah, and what kind of support do you give? And the other thing that I am quite concerned is also the mental health. That is, if I were to give a marginalized group, I would give another group that I would call, besides the disabled, the ethnic minorities, the mental health group. They are also the people that needs to be looked into. So it is only proper that now that now organizations should have a special unit for mental health for our students. Then it was not the in thing, but now people are more exposed, and also they are more vocal about their mental health. So you need that kind of support for our students. So on that note, I would say that you have to learn, and also you have to learn and to know the background and also the situation the student is. Then only you put up your strategies. I think strategies, you have to work among yourself in the institutions. You have many officers around you to give feedback. So I believe in a delegation and also empowerment of our young officers at our universities, so that they can work on it. Maybe task one you give to the young officers of this group to look into mental health. Task two, the what do you call that? The disabled community, and so forth and so forth. So that's my take on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Tan Sri. There's one more question. Okay. How can the principles of integrity and ethical leadership be embedded in the governance structures of universities to support sustainable development efforts? I repeat, how can the principles of integrity and ethical leadership be embedded in the governance structures of universities to support sustainable development efforts?
First and foremost, it's always leadership by example. To be a leader in organizations, you have to set good examples to your subordinates or to your staff. So first and foremost, the number one should have that kind of thinking, or should resort to that kind of thinking, that you must follow, and you must set a good example for the other staff. When they talk about principles of integrity and ethical, whistleblower, right? Whistleblower should be recognized and not being not being attacked just because you are conveying something that is not ethical. There's no integrity in that so-called action of somebody. So it should be recognized by the organization or by the leaders of organization. So by doing that, actually, you are building a transparent organization, because you allow your subordinates to voice out their opinion, to be whistleblowers to untoward events or untoward issues in the organization. And at the same time, Institute Integrity Malaysia, I think you have heard about it, right? Now the government is working on the IIM and SPRM working together to ensure the integrity of organizations in Malaysia. And by that, the IIM planning, IIM plan, it encompasses all, including education, health, all areas. So it means that even the higher education institutions, they are bound by this IIM. So because if I'm talking to IPTA here, IPTA is under Ministry of Higher Education. So by right, you are bound by the government regulations and procedures with regard to integrity and also ethical. And also, when I was with the Ministry of Higher Education, then, I was called by the PAC, Public Accounts Committee, looking into some of our university untoward issues that we then had to resolve. And there I was in front of the PAC, looking into it, and also promising them that these things won't happen anymore. So in other words, you are not far away from it. You are very near when it comes to IIM. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, there's one last question posed, Tan Sri. I'm reading the question now. How can the healthy aging population of Malaysia continue to contribute to socio-economic sustainability? I repeat, how can the healthy aging population of Malaysia continue to contribute to socio-economic sustainability?
Actually, then the aging population, 60, right? That's the aging population, the age of the aging population. So by 2030, 15% of our aging population, we have 50% of those over 60 years old. So in other words, we are going to be an aging population by 2030. That was the old setup, okay? But the new one is 65. The 65. So in other words, but whatever it is, the aging population is going to be there. Now, how prepared are we? The aging population, once you have retired, in my case, I've retired, but but you have to be passionate of what you want to do in your life. You see, it's all about giving back to society. In my case, I've made it plain that I want to give back to society, and my passion for education, for example, that makes me want to makes me want to lecture in Sunway University, and also in UCYP University. Is the passion in life. You have to catch hold of your passion in life. If you are passionate enough to go and do this, in my case, I'm already retired, but I'm still moving on. Actually, for me, I'm still contributing to the society. Yeah, I'm still contributing to the society in terms of my knowledge, my experiences, that what I'm doing here today, so that the others will stand to gain from it. If you are to stand to gain from it, so you stand to gain from it, and vice versa. And also, you talk about socio-economic development. Yeah, you can be entrepreneurs. If you're retired, you can become entrepreneurs. For that matter, you can build up a small businesses, and also to contribute, especially for women. For women, our female labor participation rate is only about 56% compared to 80% of male population. So women get out there, and work on how to contribute to our nation. Yeah. So in other words, retirement is not the end of the journey. It's a new chapter of our journey. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Tan Sri, for the sharing and your wise words on SDG. All right. So we a round of applause to you, and thank you again for agreeing to be the presenter for this session. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay. We will now move to the second panel. Okay. Okay, the topic is on academic mobility. Before I begin, I would like to remind the speaker, you are only given around, because there are 2 speakers for this session, you're only given around 25 minutes each for each presentation, and it will be followed by Q&A session, okay? Okay, academic writing is more than just a term. It's a transformative experience that enriches individuals and institutions alike. It bridges cultures, fosters collaboration, and opens up a new avenues for personal and professional growth. Today, we delve into how academic mobility can be a catalyst for creating leaders who are not only skilled, but resilient and adaptable in the face of global challenges. As we navigate through an increasingly interconnected world, the importance of resilient leadership cannot be overstated. Our leaders today must possess the ability to adapt to changing environments, overcome obstacles, and inspire others through the lens of academic mobility. We will explore how exposure to diverse educational landscapes can cultivate these essential qualities. Now, without further ado, let's commence our journey into the world of academic mobility and resilient leadership. To start us off, I am delighted to introduce our 2 esteemed speakers for today, Associate Professor Dr. Muhiza Mustafa. Okay. He is an Associate Professor at University Science Malaysia, earned his PhD from Birmingham University, with a background in architecture, art, and design thinking. He has teaching experience in the UK, Thailand, and Hong Kong. He was the director of the International Mobility and Collaboration Center. Until recently, he also sat as the deputy chair for the Malaysian University International Director Office. With more than 6 years of experience, he is currently the international advisor and academic with the Social of the Arts, USM, SOTA USM. Let me introduce the second speaker, Assistant Professor Dr. Romian Kosaikanot, who is the Departmental Director of SIMEO Rahat, the Southeast Asian Ministers of Education Organization Regional Center, specializing in higher education and development. She is dedicated to fostering collective learning and co-creating a higher education common space for equitable and sustainable regional development. Dr. Romian leads various regional initiatives supporting harmonization and internalization through policy dialogue, leadership, mobility, linkages, and knowledge maximization. Key projects include the SEA High-Ed SOM Policy Dialogue, the AIMS Program for Student Mobility, the RIHAT Share Knowledge Hub, and collaboration with the British Council and DAD on leadership, good governance, and research sustainability. Previously, she served as a Vice President for International Affairs at Mei Fah Luang University, Thailand, and has expertise in gender studies. Her international roles include the DAAD International Dean's College, JAIF Capacity Building Project, and a member of Global Research Council Gender Working Group. Please join me in welcoming both speakers, Assistant Professor Dr. Romiam and Associate Professor Dr. Muhiza Mustafa, to the virtual stage. Let us welcome both speakers.
Okay, terima kasih. Thank you very much, Master of Ceremony, Putri Rohani, Madam Putri Rohani. I also would like to thank Academy Professor Malaysia, UiTM, and also GCU for inviting me to the webinar session. Again, it is good to see Tan Sri Nurul. Apparently, I just got to know she's my super duper senior from BU. It's good to know that as well. I am given the opportunity now to actually share perhaps a little bit of an understanding of academic mobility, being in the international arena. Perhaps not as long or as experienced as Dr. Romian, but I was given the opportunity to work with different quarters on international strategy, not only for the university, but also for the country with the Ministry of Higher Education. Please allow me to share my slide. What I'll be doing today is like I said, this session is divided into two sessions. So I will try my best to perhaps again do the scene setting like Tan Sri Nurul. I'm going to do the scene setting, and later on my partner Dr. Moyan will be talking about real life cases to share with you of the academic mobility and how it can actually create resilient leaders, especially at higher learning institutions. I would like to kickstart with this actually, if I may. It is an interesting page, I would like to say. This is actually very true for me. Being a very international child in a way, I was born and raised in Australia, and I went to study in the UK and so forth. I was given this opportunity to actually be so-called the global traveler, and because of that, I believe personally that I was given the opportunity to actually expand my horizon. But before I proceed to the topic that we're discussing today, there is a bit of disclaimer. When you talk about leadership, there is actually, whether it'll be in higher learning institution or in any organization, there are actually three characters that I have to highlight first. There are three characters of leaders or person has chosen to lead. Yeah. Number one, again, I'm using words here. Ain't no mountain high enough, ain't no valley low enough. So you have that kind of character. That's the first character that you have. Yeah. Perhaps later I will explain a bit more. I repeat, yeah. The first character is ain't no mountain high enough, ain't no valley low enough. All right. And then the second characteristic of a leader that you can find today is what could have, should have, would have. So that is the other character that you might find in today's leaders. And the final one is quite interesting. We do have, sometimes we do find people who are pushed in the spotlight of leadership have this kind of characteristic: don't know, don't care. So bear in mind, these are the characteristics. I can set the scene on what is actually important for an agile leadership. However, it depends on the characters of the leaders that is chosen. I cannot highlight this enough that character profiling is super important when you are choosing leader, especially for higher learning institution. So if I might share the next slide. Today, the topic I was given, again with my partner, Dr. Romian, is how academic mobility can create resilient leaders. And just to introduce in a way a bit of what the MC have kindly introduced our background. But again, I am so glad to be in the same stage, on the same stage with Dr. Romian, because he had a very long, illustrious experience, especially with Semyor Rahat, the Southeast Asian Minister Education Organization. She engages with a lot of policymakers and stuff like that. So what I'm coming in here is, my part is to set the scene, okay? What I'm trying to do here is that I am trying to perhaps, to the uninitiated, a bit of background on what is academic mobility and what is actually resilient leaders. Just to perhaps explain a bit more, when you talk about the creation of resilient leaders through academic mobility, there are keywords here. Yeah, the two keywords that later you will see is actually academic mobility and resilient leaders. So for my part, I will be able, hopefully I'll be able to explain as clear as day, if I can, on the definition of resilient leaders in higher learning institution. I'm pretty sure some of you know this already. You've attended a lot of webinar or a lot of conferences talking about resilient leaders, but I just like to perhaps jog your memory on what is actually the definition. Number two, I'll be talking about the definition of academic mobility. There are actually different layers and perspective on academic mobility. I will try to sum it as simple as possible before I go into the final point, which is actually how can academic mobility create resilient leaders. And later on, part two will be taken by Dr. Romian Kosai Kanot. Okay, I'm pretty sure you know this. All of you know this. The context of resilient leaders in higher learning education is about where the higher education landscape is actually evolving quite quickly. Whether you like it or not, it is actually marked by uncertainty and adversity, because you see, higher education today landscape is totally different from perhaps my time when I was a student. Yeah. During my time, the professors are always the sage on the pedestal. And nowadays it doesn't hold true anymore because of Professor Google, Professor ChatGPT, and AI. So the generation is moving differently. The flavor of education is moving quite quickly. The demand of from a higher education is immense nowadays. I don't know if you noticed this. We need to navigate, we need to mitigate a lot of things. So the context for this definition of higher leadership, if I may kickstart, the context is about rapidly evolving landscape of higher education, which is often marked by uncertainty and adversity. Whether we like it or not, this is the actual story. So in a way, if you want to define resilient leadership in higher education, it is looking at specifically how a leader are able to adapt and respond effectively. I'm sure there's a lot of challenges, there's a lot of changes, and a lot of stresses. I will show you some example. I think we are, I don't know whether you call it lucky or unlucky, but we are lucky in a way that we had the opportunity to experience COVID-19. It's a mega trend. In design, we call it mega trend, where every 100 years or so, a big event will actually change the way we do things, the way we see things. But on that note, the clue has already been there even before COVID. Yeah, the clue of how education should move, or how should we dance to the tune is already been previewed. And the one that seals the nail on the coffin is actually the COVID-19 pandemic. Okay, so this is some of the things that perhaps in this during the COVID itself, and even now, for example, we are faced with a lot of challenges. Okay, students are quitting schools, not just because of COVID-19. Even today, you see that a higher number of students are no longer coming to the university. And a lot of them would like to be an influencer on TikTok, TokTik, and TokTok, whatever you call them, because it's all about getting a start in life. Yeah. So we were, in a way, we're given the opportunity to be given these challenges during COVID-19. Yeah. Not only in Malaysia, globally, and even now, the impact. Okay, the impact of COVID-19. We can actually see this because a lot actually happened during that time, and this disruption has forced the hand of the university's top leadership now to think differently, because otherwise, if you don't think, you will sink. So these are the things that is actually happening globally at the moment. So I'm going to go straight to this because I'm not going to waste a lot of time, because I would like to focus a bit later on academic mobility. These are the key attributes. There are actually 4 key attributes of resilient leadership. I'm pretty sure that you know this, but again, I would like to take you guys down to memory lane. It's about leaders can actually be the change maker in not only the culture and the operation of their institution. So what they can do is that regardless what come what may, they are able now to mitigate and they can navigate and be that change maker. Okay. It means that you need to be able to learn and run as quickly as possible, and take calculated risks to make that change. Because the thing is, any good leader or resilient leaders see that at every corner, when you give it a lemon, you make lemonade. So these are the things that you need to be able to understand. There's point number 2 is adaptation and learning, where they can actually learn through all the stresses. They are able to adapt regardless in the condition. Because I understand not only in Malaysia. Recently, I was visited by my ex-boss from the UK, and they were looking at how the British University now, due to country's policies and due to the leadership, the internationalization working leadership has lost its momentum. And however, there are people within the university itself are realizing that they need to now adapt and learn and also make all the change that's necessary. And a good leader is also a modeling for resilience. It's not enough that you make changes. You need to be showcasing that you have that calm and clarity and confidence as a leader. It is never easy, because to err is human. We are human. We have limits, and we have our stress limit, things that we can do, we cannot do. However, being a leader, being elected as a leader, and so much so, you need to be the modeling of resilience. And finally, you're able to promote resilience. Okay, not only you showcase your resilience, but now, due to change making, adaptation, and learning, you're able now to promote resilience. And especially, you like to show grit and perseverance to your not only to your staff, not only to the academics, but also to the students. So these are one of the key attributes. These are the 4 key attributes that is important for a resilient leadership. Next, I'm be looking at from that key elements that you have. The leadership must be able to demonstrate 5 key points. Number 1, ability to bounce back. Again, like I said, being a leader, it's never easy. You're always on the spotlight. Sometimes you do a lot of good, and just one small mistake, you'll be under the microscope. But it's about ability to bounce back. Resilient leaders are able to see any failures as just a minor setback that they need to, they're down, they need to quickly stand up and start walking again. Point number 2, give support and show courage is based on modeling resilient leaders. They must set up. The thing is, with any leaders of any organization, CEOs or any universities, a lot of the time, you are looked up to for inspiration. You are looked up for direction, but you also looked up for support, because you know it's no point for you being able to be the general without being able to build alignment and commitment to the focus of the higher learning institution. Number 3, anticipate, cope, and adapt. You are able to look at potential crises, cope when they occur, and adapt to the aftermath. It's not only about during the incident, but also what happened next. Okay, where do you go from there? And number 4, good resource management. Resilient leaders encourages people. Okay, these resources is going to be, especially for higher institution, resources can be your team, can be your academics. They all have different needs. They all have different worries and concern. And how you're able to encourage based, not one fit all, based on the understanding of the needs of particular group of people will actually show that kind of leadership. And finally, crisis leadership trait. I think there's a lot of saying, right? When you fall, you don't lie down. When you fall, you get back up and face the music. So I think as a resilient leaders, you need to exhibit this kind of traits and to show that come what may, ain't no mountain high enough, or no ain't no valley low enough. Things could still be resolved. So this is actually the trait. So I think these are just a bit of background on resilient leadership, just again to give you that idea, or to refresh you on what is resilient leadership. Next, I'm going to go for the definition of academic mobility, because the topic today is about how academic mobility can create resilient and agile leadership. Okay, so the word academic mobility comes from 2 words, academic mobility, but it's also looking at 3 points. It's not just about, because the word academic mobility itself is a huge term, so we're also looking at three main points. Academic mobility can be defined as movement, or material, or immaterial components. So these are the 3 components when you talk about academic mobility. All I'm saying is that for academic mobility is looking, of course, the term is actually the cross-border movement of people and organism, looking at involving materials like infrastructures, resources, and equipment, and of course, immaterialities, for example, idea, information, knowledge, skill, emotion, and imagination. So when you talk about academic mobility, you're looking at the three components. You cannot take one away from the other. Okay, so this is again the precept of how this academic mobility can actually create resilient leadership. Yeah, because by experiencing cross-border movement, you'll have engagement with not only academics but also the community that you're in. Your ability to navigate and mitigate your surrounding. This is as much as one of the key point for the benefit of academic mobility, especially in honing better leadership. Yeah, and of course, when you're there, you're able to now engage and look at all the infrastructures, the resources and equipment. As a leader, you'll be able to observe how other country, how other policies, other universities or higher learning institutions now engage or manage their materials. And finally, this is super important, and how this can actually land into resilient leadership is that with academic mobility, you're able now to share, you will be able to now embrace new information, new knowledge, new skills, and new emotion and imagination. Now, again, I'm coming back to the first thing I said earlier. It's about the 3 types or characteristic of the leader. Number 1, ain't no mountain high enough. ain't no valley low enough. You can have all the academic mobility in the world, but if you have a leader that is actually invested in this, then it will actually work. And then you have people who actually go for academic mobility, but unfortunately, their character is what should have, could have, and would have. Perhaps they are not agile enough or quick enough to think on their feet. And finally, people who are going through academic mobility, they have this character, don't know, and don't care. So to them, all these experiences is relative to what they need and what they want in life. Just to give you on the different type of category of mobility, for academic mobility, again, to set the setting. So for there's the first category is academic mobility for academics. These are normal things that you've done. For example, we have linear mobility, we have circular mobility, and we have reciprocal mobility, as is explained there. And the linear mobility, you're looking at the normal internship, the degree mobility that you do your degree 2+1, 3+0 and not, and of course career migration. And then we have circular mobility. These are academic travel. You're doing research, you get research grant and stuff like that, so you go there. Credit mobility, normal exchange, and return migration. For example, that from there now you come back to the country that you actually did again your academic credentials or mobility. And finally, looking at reciprocal mobility, looking at transnationalism, diaspora, and commuting, where now the local talent goes back to the country now to be able to take the knowledge they have back to the country. The second category that we have here is academic mobility in the global knowledge system. Is talking about the relationship between international academic mobility and worldwide. Is talking about knowledge acquisition, production, transfer, circulation, network, and the geopolitical science. Okay, these are the things that all this actually is controlling the learning and technological innovation around the world. So this is the second category. Perhaps I can answer more on Q&A because of time. And finally, academic mobility for university leaders. We're looking at how it can be seen as a strategic tool for internationalization. One of the things I feel that that is important from all these three is that you are not only looking at leaders with high IQ, you're also looking at leaders with high EI, okay, empathy intelligence, and also very high perspective intelligence. So in this sense, that all these categories will allow for the three to be part of the profile of a good leaders. Yeah, so you are with being abroad, being able to see, being able to engage. Now you're able to have the IQ, EI, and PI. Okay, and finally, my final slide before I pass to Dr. Romyan is that there are 10 traits of how academic can create resilient leaders from the two introduction of the beginning. Number one is that when you're abroad, you learn to adapt. You are exposed to diverse academic environment. So somehow it will help that leader to adapt to new challenges, contexts, and enhancing their resilience. Number two, high cultural intelligence. By interacting with people from different backgrounds, it will cultivate cultural intelligence, key trait for a resilient leadership. Point number three, network building. By having academic mobility, you are able now to facilitate networking, allow leaders to connect with peers, mentors, and collaborators worldwide. Point number four, emotional intelligence. I cannot stress this enough. A good leader, a resilient leader, an agile leader must be emotional intelligent. They're able to cope with differences and homesickness, to foster emotional intelligence, vital for effective leadership. Number five, flexibility. With academic mobility, it encourages flexibility in thinking and decision-making, a hallmark of resilient leaders. Number six, risk-taking. Academic mobility involves risk, teaching leaders to embrace uncertainty and learn from setback. Number seven, global perspective. Exposure to diverse perspective broadens leaders' understanding of making them more adaptable and resilient. Resourcefulness, overcoming language barriers, administrative hurdles, and academic challenges builds resourcefulness. Number nine, problem-solving skill, navigating unfamiliar situation during mobility, one's problem-solving abilities, essential for resilience. And finally, not the least, is self-reflection. Mobility prompts self-reflection, helping leaders to understand their strengths, weaknesses, growth, and idea. Again, all this is very, very important. These are the impact of how academic mobility can create resilient leaders. But please remember again of the 3 characters leaders that you might find. So perhaps a bit later, it will be explained later by my partner, Dr. Morian Kosanakot, on the actual real life case study. Thank you very much. I would like to close it with age come wisdom, with travel come understanding, with agility comes leadership. Thank you very much. And I pass the floor to Dr. Kasana. Thank you.
Okay, all right, thank you, Associate Professor Dr. Muhiza Mustafa. We welcome now Assistant Professor Dr. Romian to share her speech.
Okay, thank you very much. Let me have it in a full screen first. Hang on a minute. Okay. So there you go. Okay, thank you very much. Thank you for the invitation. And I have to say the honor is mine to be in the same panel as Sam. And also thank you for the organizer for inviting me to share my talk and my experience. So when I received the topics from the organizer, I was sort of thinking academic mobility, creating resilient leaders. And I thought, what is the best way to do this presentation? So a bit of disclaimer as well. I would like to point out 3 things. One is that I am having a heart and soul for internationalization for higher education, and I'm benefiting a lot from the internationalization process. Like my partner was saying, we have been educated abroad and having been receiving a lot of cross-cultural experiences from a lot of activities that we do. So I'm benefits a lot from the academic mobility and internationalization process of higher education. I'm also advocating for internationalization in higher education and trying to create the harmonization of higher education in the region. But having said this, when I was looking at the topics and I was asking my colleagues at Simeo Righthead, what do you want to hear from me? If it is to be you. So they all said, maybe you just talk about some of the real case studies so that people knows there is a real resilient leaders. That's what I decided to do today. So what I'm going to be doing is that I observe that actually, although I have a heart and soul for the internationalization process, I know that academic mobility can contribute to a lot of skills required for these days of the disruption and volatility, what we know as VUCA. But at the same time, I also observe that a lot of the people who go on the academic mobility doesn't automatically acquire the resilient leadership. So with that, I think it's better we focus on who is actually the resilient leaders with the life case studies. So with this, I would talk about 3 resilient leaders that I came across in my life. And then I would take the lesson learned from them, how they become the resilient leaders. The first person that I would like to talk about is Miss Pontip Kanjananiyot. She is the special advisor to Simeo Righthead. But she was really famous for her role as a former executive director of Fulbright Thailand. She has been in that position for more than 15 years. And she was the one who drafted and launched the first national strategic plan for internationalization for Thailand. And that was really, really early on in early 1990s. So she was really strategic and futuristic. As a friend, she is also a mentor and coach for many people in their life and their working as well. For Kun Pontip, from day one that I know her, I first met her in the workshop. During that time, I was appointed as the assistant to the president on internationalization and international affairs. So in the workshop, she mentioned that her inspiration of being with Fulbright is because of the quote by the Senator Fulbright, which I quote, "The essence of intercultural education is the acquisition of empathy. The empathy is the ability to see the world as others see it." and to allow for the possibility that others may see something that we have failed to see, or maybe we see it more accurately. That is to say, you are not self-centered and you are valuing the perspectives of others as well, who would help us to see things more accurately. Kun Thorntip is the one who is really withholding this as an aspiration. So for us, seeing her, we can reflect that she lead with the purpose by practice. So she leads with the model of having herself trying to be a good leader. So when she comes into Fulbright, she even have the vision for Thailand, or for Fulbright Thailand, to inspire caring leaders across cultures. So in whatever she does, she withhold this vision. She's very, very bold, innovative, and also always calculating risk. So the activities that she does, she realized she wants people to have a leadership quality with the caring and understanding the cross-cultural competence. So what she does is that she realized in Thailand there are inequality. So she did create the outreach programs where she would go to the rural area and also bringing the specialists and the experts and also the programs to the people who may not be in Bangkok. That's one. So making sure that people who may not have the opportunities to go or receive the Fulbright scholarships also can learn about internationalization. I remember one of the project vividly. She took the group of American teachers to go and talk with the street sweepers in Bangkok and let them share the McDonald's so that they can learn about each other culture. I said calculating risk because sometimes all the project that she did is not successful, but she is genuine enough to admit it that it's a fail. But every time that she failed, she said that I would fail forward with the 3 reflections. So she always learned. So with among the friends, we will have a games that we play, for the sake of learning as well. So sometimes we ask, what kind of the food that you would be represented. We ask from the perspective of the friends. So the picture here is a sweet in Thailand. You don't really see this very commonly on the street, but it is a very beautiful sweet and it tastes really good. And we said it is representing her because of her genuinity, her caring, her ethical value, and also her reliability. We also learned that her quality is also having a constant learning and integrate in whatever she has that she has to work on. She actually proposed the term integration, which is linking between the learning and integration. From day one that I know her, I would be in her email loop that she would send out, these 2 emails, from long time ago and until very recently. She would just summarize the book that she read and integrate in the work that she does. And then she shared with other people. So she is always paying it forward. Now you may ask, how is this resilient of Miss Pontiff? I have to say that, during the COVID-19, when people were asking, things have to be slowed down and things like that, she initiated a new podcast programs, Learn Plern Plern, meaning, good learning, fun learning. And this podcast has been going on since COVID-19 until now. It's already starting of their 5th year. And there's so many speakers that has been invited to share their leadership, share the internationalization aspects, the practices, and so on and so forth. So for her, she is leading by example, and there's nothing that can stop her. Even when there is no budget for this, she's doing this all by herself. So this is the first one, Kun Pantip. The second person I would like to talk about is Dr. Kevin Quigley. He is the past president of Marlborough College, Vermont, in the US, and he was also former CEO of Peace Corps. He has been in Thailand during 1976 to 1979. He speaks Thai fluently, and he was also the Fulbrighter and the Fulbright specialist. Now you may ask the question, why I put down as past president of Marlborough? I have to say this. This is Kevin's interview when he first at Marlborough College. He said, this is the interviews to the television. He said, liberal arts education, especially in distinctive and academically rich setting has unique ability to anticipate change and prepare individuals for thoughtful, purposeful, and effective engagement in the world. At its best, this education stirs a passion for lifelong learning, encourages discernment and judgment, offers a global perspective, and fosters the motivation to make a difference. And he said his vision at Marlborough is to shape a meaningful life. I'm saying this because Kevin was really committed. You know, he see the life being the Peace Corps in Thailand, and he has been living in the rural area. He understands when he managing all the Peace Corps in Thailand as well as a CEO. So he understands that people are different, people are diverse, and then the perspectives of the people can also be contributing to something better if we are working together. So he's respecting the differences, and he's trying his best to creating the learning environment so that people can shape a meaningful life, you know, recognizing all of this. However, the first year that he was on in Marlborough, there was a decline in the enrollment. And I think Sam, my partner, also talked about this. And it was a trend in the US. And, you know, the year that he was stepping in, there were like maybe 20 colleges has been closed down in the US. And some of them closed down overnight, 24 hours, announced and then closed down. Now, looking at Marlborough, he also see the decline in the enrollment. But as you can see the picture on the top here, Marlborough situated in a forest, lush forest area. And there are a small neighboring communities who are depending so much on the Marlborough College. So for Kevin, he has to think very quickly how is he going to react to the decline in the enrollment. He realized that there are so many stakeholders that he has to hold accountable. This is including the board, the administrators, the staff, professors, students, and also community. He put so much importance to the community. But then the question that he asked is that what is best for the stakeholders? He went to the board, you know, with his plan and asked, you know, what should we do? Should we close down or what should we do? The board suggested 2-3 options. One is to think about closing down and how to close down, you know, thinking of what is the best for stakeholders. Secondly, should they merge? You know, if they merge, who would be the good partner? Why do we merge? What is the reason behind that? So with that, he comes back and he set the purpose. He has very clear purpose that he would like to do anything from now on for sustainability of the college while offering the better opportunity for stakeholders. He often said, don't say to me that I'm closing Marlborough College, because he has the mindset that actually Marlborough is just changing to something or transitioning for something better. So I think mindset of the leaders is also very important. And the partner, he decided at the end to have a merging of Marlborough with the Emerson, which is based in Boston. And he think the most important thing that he decided to go with Emerson is because of the trust that they have. They show everything, including the CFO sharing all the income expenses and all the budgets that they have. He has to go on to so many town halls. And he said the most difficult thing is to get people to understand why do we have to merge? Why is the change happening? It's also very, very difficult for him to convince some of the staff who wants to stay with Marlborough to go on the transition. He also has to manage some of the staff who is underperformed and Emerson doesn't want to take them. So he has to negotiate all of this. He also has to negotiate with the students. How would they be most happy? Because there is a big transition from a forest lush to Boston, which is a city town. So he has to manage all of this. But at the end, he believed that he's doing the best for all the stakeholders. years. But after he has done all this, it was the time that I went on the Fulbright programs, and he is the one who promoting internationalization as well and cross-cultural learning. And he's the Fulbrighter. So he's willing to come and meet me in person. So we have a lot of exchanges. And during the COVID-19, he started the Fulbright Chronicles, which is still continue until now. He's the chief editor of the Fulbright Chronicles, trying to still promoting the intercultural competencies and learning. And now he's the administrator of River University. So that's the second person, Kevin Quickly. The third person, and I think this guy is amazing. His name is Albert Sacco or Al Sacco. He is a former dean of the Edward E. Whitaker Jr. College of Engineering, Texas Tech University. And in this college, it is 100 mobility for engineering students. He believes that this engineering student should have a global perspective and global mindset. And he believed that engineer should be able to work and live anywhere, even when it's not uncomfortable. They should be able to work and create something impactful and meaningful. And with that, he promotes 100% mobility for engineering students. But where does he get all this idea from? Alsacco was an astronaut in STS-73, and actually he went on the orbit a couple of times, not only one time. And I knew him the first time because we organized the event called Internationalization of Higher Education Platform in Bangkok, talking about internationalization policies and practices for the future development. And that was before the COVID-19. Alsacco came, and he was sharing a lot of things that he does. And we can see that he's so passionate about being the astronaut. And he showed this picture. And he said, wow, look at how the universe is. You are so small. The planet is so small. I wish we can put everyone in the orbit for a couple of hours. I think everyone would come back much different. So what he was believing is that we are all part of the greater human family. So whatever he does, he thinks that we are so small. He showed us the picture of the crew who went on the space shuttle with him, and they're having to share a very small space. They have to put the Velcro on in order for them not to float. They have to eat in and out, day in, day out, 16 days together. They also have to do research on the space, and they have to also exchange conversation. And he said the first time he went on the orbit, looking back on the earth, everyone, including people from different nationalities, they would say, oh, that's my country. This is my country. But then later on, a few days after, they realized that actually the world is connected. And the borders that we have is something that man-made. We made it up. So he says that, at the end of the day, we have to think that we are living under the same globe, under the same planet. And that is something that we should think about doing, create something impactful for the globe. So why is he resilient? I think after knowing him, I was really impressed with his talk. But the reality hits when there was a COVID-19. And I check what he does at his college. It turns out to be that he continued to promote the creative, innovative engineer. So you can see on the left is the news top line. Researchers collaboratively test mass effectiveness to fight spread of the COVID-19. So he reached out to the to the College of Medicine, so that they can work together with other interdisciplinary research team in order to make sure that they can come up with the test, with the mask that is effective enough to prevent the spread of the COVID-19. So the engineer that he would like to produce is the engineer who can collaborate for a greater impact and a bigger purpose. But now, if you look at him as a leader, and this is a great video, and if you have a time to go back and have a look at this, the video is only 1 minute and 30 seconds. And he addressed with a very skillful communication. He just addressed about the safety of the people, what he is going to do. He addressed all the stakeholders that he have. And I think the first sentence that he said is that this message is for faculty, staff, and student, our number one concern is you. Can you imagine, like, you are under his leadership and he said that he cares about us, and that's exactly what he did. So you can see that he lead with people at heart, and then showing this as an example. I think from the 3 cases that I show you, something in common that we can learn is that, all 3 have been exposed to different cultures and settings. Kun Thorntip is working for Fulbright, where their board are a mixture of the Thai and also American. She also have the education from abroad, but I think most importantly is to be able to handle the board who may have different perspectives and different views. She has to handle that. And at the same time, she withhold her beliefs, her values that she wants to promote the people to be able to see what other people how the other people see it, and she wants to foster the caring leaders across culture. So that's Kun Phantip. Kevin also have been in Thailand. He realized that the world is having a wider horizon than the American-centric views, and with that he wants to promote the learning that people can have a meaningful life. For Albert Sacco, he also went to the space. He looked at the world differently, and he wants to do things differently as well. And all of this is happening because they have the experiences that they have to work and deal with different cultures and different settings. All of them recognize diversity and inclusion as a positive force. They believe that diversity is a beauty, but the inclusion is the efforts that you have to put in. You want to make sure that everyone would feel that they have the ownership in the space of the learning, and that's what they did in whatever their practice is. I think this is commonly shared. If you are listening to them, they always say, we want people to be comfortable in an uncomfortable situation. So you should be able to anticipate something that you are not too sure, something that is volatile, something that is uncertain, some future that is unforeseen. So if you are in this mindset, you should be able to bounce back and being able to embrace the uncertainties. You can also see that resilience is a process of being exposed to something, learn, and also reflect. And at the end, I think the most important point is that they all see bigger purpose beyond themselves. Okay, thank you very much. So that's I end my talk there. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Ramian. Okay, very thank you to both of you, both the speakers, for sharing the very insightful on the topic of academic mobility. Okay, we will now move to the Q&A session. You may write your question in the chat, and I will read through the question to both the speakers. Okay. Okay, there's one question posed. Okay, I will read through, and I will welcome Dr. Associate Professor Dr. Muhiza Mustafa first to respond, and then followed by Dr. Ramian. Yeah. Okay. The first question is, how can academic mobility programs prepare students and scholars to navigate ethical dilemmas and cultural differences effectively? I will repeat the question. How can academic mobility programs prepare students and scholars to navigate ethical dilemmas and cultural differences effectively?
Okay, thank you very much. I'll try to answer the best I can question. I think this question is really good to what we have presented. Basically, let us perhaps take from experience. When you travel abroad, contoh lah, you travel abroad and you, for example, you go to Taiwan. Okay, so because I always go to Taiwan, to meet friends. I've got many friends in Taiwan. One of the things I realized is that being in Taiwan, for example, nobody knows me and my friend is Taiwanese. And when I'm hungry, for example, I do not have to, I'm a Muslim, of course, but I do not have to, if I do not want to, to worry about halal or non-halal. I can just eat whatever I want, for example, was in Thailand. But through experience, that you learn to navigate, you learn to make plannings before you leave. You tend to now engage with your friends, saying, "Look, I'm Muslim. I can't take non-halal food, but at the same time, I can still take seafood. I can still take vegetarian food. Can you please assist," for example? So one of the key things is that being able to voice out again about what are the restrictions I'm faced with, and be able to hear what will my friends tell me. Okay, this is what you can do next and stuff like that. So it's in a way when you are abroad, whether you're doing for exchange, whether you're doing there for your sabbatical, whether you're doing there for your studies, you are forced now to confront reality that you need to now be able to navigate. You need to be able to learn to understand between the good and without compromising and your ethical position, for example. But at the same time, you're not being restrictive. You're not saying no, I can't. I go to the restaurant, you must have a halal certificate. And that I am in another country, in a different culture. I have to be able to respect what they offer as well. But at the same time, I must be able to navigate myself. So in that experience, for example, that this is the plus point of academic ability. You learn to be aware of your surrounding, in the sense that the people, the place, the culture, and you learn to now not saying accommodate to the point where you are forsaking your ethical belief or your religious belief or the belief that you have, but at the same time saying that, look, I need now to be able to open my mouth. I need to be able to somehow tell people. I'm sure they will understand. And this is what we call as the ability to mitigate and navigate. And this is actually one of the key areas in leadership. As leaders, sometimes you're faced with very difficult decision making, but it's not to the point where you have to now flex the ethics, but navigating, not being flexing, not bending over backwards, or not taking an easy way out. It's about being able to see what is best during that situation. So this is, I think, one of the key words that you can actually learn from academic mobility. And this experience, to the right character, to the right leaders, it can actually means it can means a lot between the right and the wrong. So that is what I think that from experience, for example, that is how you are able to learn. And this is actually super important for leaders, for not only students, for scholars, for leaders, to be able now to do that. There are scholars who have perhaps local experience in learning, but some overseas. But I have met people who lived overseas for a long time. Perhaps Romian can agree to disagree or agree to agree, but they can be living in abroad for a long time, but that doesn't make them a person that is actually who learns to understand, who learns to like I said, have this empathy, saying that, okay, I'm abroad, I need to somehow find my ways to solve the problem I'm faced with, and not just saying that, no, I can't do that, and I'm going to leave and go back to my home country. So again, that is just perhaps, hopefully that answers the question, and I'll pass to Dr. Romian perhaps to have her own opinion on this. Romian?
Thank you very much. Thank you, Sam. Sorry you have to go first so that I can pick up on what is remaining. Thank you very much for the question. I think that this question is really relevant because as you can see, and we have to admit that we are living in the world that we have the plural ethical meaning that people are having sets of ethics in a way, and also different sets of cultures as well. So I would talk from the perspective of the leaders. If you have to lead the organization where that having people exposed to different cultures could be a good learning for them and preparing them for the future, we also have to think about how to design the learning. So for me, I see it more structurally. meaning that we would take this as one of the learning as an outcome for the people who goes on the mobility programs. Now, when you do the mobility programs, as I said, everything is not happening automatically. We have to do it by design. So perhaps, from day one, we have to plan. This would be the outcome from the academic mobility, right? So what we have to do is that we set some process, including the orientation. We have to prepare people before they go on the mobility that this is a possibility that would happen. Not just do and don't, but the mindset about awareness of different cultures. Most importantly, we have to try to foster the mindset that you have to respect people of different cultures. Nothing is better than others. It's just different. And you should be able to ask them to learn on the process how to navigate themselves when they are interacting with people with different cultures or beliefs or different ethics, but in doing that, ethics, cultures, and all of this is dynamic. It doesn't go static like that. So even when you're going to one country, it's not the whole country that think the same way. You would have people thinking about things differently as well. So that is something that you would learn. From the leader's perspective, we should plan all of this, including having the companion for them when they are actually going on the mobility programs, just as the fallback. So they might call or consult if there is something that they don't feel comfortable with, so that they can actually learn and find the way out as well. And at the same time, on their return, I think this is something of the valuable resources, so that they can actually bring back to the community back home in their home institution, so that they can share their experiences. And I think in doing this, a lot of time people were saying doing academic mobility is expensive. A few people get it, get the benefits out of this. And this is how you maximize the benefits of the academic mobility. So I would say do something more structurally, plan it well, design it, and having it as a learning outcome, and also trying to assess whether you achieve that. And then if you have the reflections more like that, then you would do it better every year. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Ramya. Okay, I have one more question, okay, which is on academic mobility. Okay, what are the long-term impacts of academic mobility on building networks, fostering international collaborations, and promoting responsible leadership globally? I will repeat. What are the long-term impacts of academic mobility on building networks, fostering international collaborations, and promoting responsible leadership globally? Okay, for this session, I will welcome Dr. Romian to answer this first.
I think you are being very fair. Okay, I love talking about the word network this day. I think about it more and more. Networks has two words, right? Come together, net and work, right? And usually people don't think about it so much. And you think network is a group of the people who just stay together. But have you ever thought that, network only works when you need help and they help you, right? So it doesn't mean that you know someone, it will be a network automatically. No, you have to invest as well. So academic mobility bring people together, yes, but you have to work on it to have a network that is really working. So, for example, like me and Madame Nordiana, we have been friends through the AIMS mobility for more than 15 years. And we are still communicating. We are reaching out to each other. But you should ask yourself now, among the academic mobility and how many people you have met, how many people you can actually, take a call and say, Sam, can you help me with this? How many people can you have that? So actually, academic mobility is a starting point. After that is the investment that you have to do. And you have to be genuine as well, because if you are not genuine, then it will be so transactional. I do this for you, you do this for me. If you don't do this for me, I won't do that for you. So I think network is something you need to invest, and you have to be sincere enough You have to have a mindset that you are willing to share and you are caring, truly caring for them. It would be best if the people in your network have the same purpose of life, something that you want to do together, you want to achieve this together. Okay, I hand it to Sam.
Thank you. Now, best living example, me and Romian, yeah, we know each other. And of course, I'm telling you, this networking is super, super important because it's like Romian is saying, rightly so, it's about building relationship. Building relationship, for example, you can have different circle of friends. Yeah, you have people that you meet, colleague, for example, then you have friends, then you have families and stuff like that. Throughout my experience in internationalization, like what Ramian is saying, it's not only about helping each other, actually. It's sometimes a lot of programs, for example, in USM, a lot of grants, for example, a lot of programs happen because of relationship. Because like what Ramian is saying, when you invest yourself in that relationship, okay, for example, when you first go to any network, it's all about dating. It's setting a scene for dating, yeah. But as you get to know each other, you're engaging, and you're also maybe getting married with that relationship. And what it does is that it allows you now, as a leader, for example, it gives you a perspective that you might be facing a same problem with others. You are not alone. There are people you can actually talk to. But again, like Roman said, it's not a lot of people that you touch and go, people who you know, genuinely know, that will actually give you honest to God ideas. So as a leader, you need this input. You need to be able now to have new ideas, new suggestions and given to you without any reservation, without really saying, oh, he's going to take that and use it, it's going to be better. No, because you know what? We trust each other. So in that sense, for all this network I've attended, a lot of the project that happens in any universities, anything, you can name it. You're talking about short-term program, you're looking at webinar, for example, like this, you're looking at conferences, you're looking at MOUs, MOAs, these are based on network and also the relationship you build within that network. So this is super, super important. And as a leader, I could not use the word enough. You are able now to say that, this is the thing that I need to invest, I need to navigate this relationship, because not all relationships are made the same. So it makes you a thinking leader, someone who's actually on his or her feet, being able to say, this relationship is actually helping me more. Actually, from my experience, I've earned, in a way, not earned in a word. I have what's the right word? I have benefit, okay, a lot of things from relationship. So I think this academic mobility will be one of the Kickstarter point, but you yourself as an academic, as a scholar, and as future leader, to be able to use this, for the longest time. It will be, it's like, your supporter, the pom-pom team behind your back, being a leader, because you know why? Again, you're not only getting from the country, you can get from all over the world that is actually sharing the same concern and the same issue that you have. So that's just my point of view. Thank you.
All right, thank you. There's one last question, okay, by the participant. The question is, what do you think of bureaucratic political intervention or interference in university leadership with reference to academic mobility activities, including international co-authorship? I repeat, what do you think of bureaucratic political intervention or interference in university leadership with reference to academic mobility activities, including international co-authorship?
Okay. I would love to take this first, if I may. Please, hopefully I still have my job by the end of today. This is very interesting because, I mean, you can't run away from politics intervention, unfortunately, okay? In an ideal world, an academic is academic, okay? But unfortunately, with ranking, with whatnot, with the riots money, the people's money, politics will come into place as well. Intervention will be there. But unfortunately, this is where I think it's a shame if the academics are not allowed now to flex their muscles. Okay? And a lot of times, a lot of perhaps with in hindsight, without me knowing why certain policies hinder that do not understand the importance of internationalization, that do not understand mobility, that do not understand activities with mobility, feels that it's just a waste of money because sometimes they want a quick win and low-hanging fruits. Unfortunately, if you are looking at academic mobilities, you're looking at internationalization, it's a long journey. You have short, mid, and term return of investment or return of engagement, ROE and ROI. This is really, really important. But unfortunately, sometimes those who are put in charge, perhaps, do not have a better understanding, nor there's no opportunity for people who is actually championing international to engage with the importance of internationalization. This is actually happening, for example, unfortunately for best of our worst. Again, I hope I still have my job at the end of the day. But these are the reality on the ground. When I was, for example, in internationalization, a lot of the things, there's a lot of, unfortunately, for lack of better words, there's a lot of roadblocks being put by people perhaps and not a fault of their own, who do not understand the power of internationalization. It's about brand positioning. It's about brand value, which is perhaps is lost in translation. And this is a shame because I understand politics has their own direction. However, in higher education, this should not be the stumbling block that we are facing, because if you look at a lot of universities, we are pushing for internationalization, because with the leadership that we built, with understanding of internationalization, that we know that we need to move very quickly as well. But unfortunately, that doesn't translate as well as we wanted. So example, for international office to be limited, for example, for lack of better words, to be limited to perhaps 2 days, 3 days to go overseas. It's kind of weird because international is part of parcel of the job. It's about engagement. The benefit is big and wide, but unfortunately sometimes you can't flex your muscle due to political will and intervention. Unfortunately, again, that is just my personal point of view. Romeo?
Thank you, Sam. I think you still have a job. No worry. We need more people like you. Like Sam said, I think politics and bureaucratic system sets the frame. And that's their role. If we understand, that's their role, right? But how well they do it, or what kind of policy coming out from them, or ability to see the differences of the university profiles, it depends. So every time, because I'm working with the for CMO, so every time that there is a change of leaderships in each country, I always have to travel. That's why I travel so much in Southeast Asia, because every time you change the leaderships, the policy change, and I have to go to talk to them, what they want, what their aspirations, and so on and so forth. However, having said this, I think the hope should be at the leaders, at the institutions, because you also have resources. You can set your strategic vision. You can set the direction for your universities. At the end of the day, we have to remember that we are different. You are situated in a different settings. You have your own purpose why you exist. So instead of, listening to everything that the politics have to say, you can also setting up your own purpose, setting up your own vision, and be honest that these days the old kind of leadership, like one person lead, doesn't exist anymore because things are changing quickly. So if you can actually build the mindset that everyone is working together, that there are possibility that you can drive for something with a bigger purpose. Why the framework is there, we can still work on it, making it meaningful for our community. I would say that. Still have a hope.
Thank you.
Okay, all right. Thank you to both Associate Professor Dr. Muhizar Mustafa and Assistant Professor Dr. Romian for a very insightful sharing on academic mobility, creating resilient leaders. All right, thank you again. All right. Okay. Okay, we will start off with the third panel. Before I begin, I would like to remind the presenter you're only given 20 minutes to present and it will be followed by a Q&A session. So, dear participants, if we welcome you to post questions. Please write your questions in the chat. So, welcome to our webinar on open science and leadership accountability. It's wonderful to engage in this important conversation. Open science represents a paradigm shift in how we conduct, share, and apply scientific research. By promoting transparency, accessibility, and collaboration, open science has the potential to democratize knowledge and drive innovation across disciplines. However, with this increased openness comes a heightened need for accountability, especially among our leaders in the scientific community. Today, we will explore how leadership accountability intersects with the principles of open science. We will discuss the responsibilities of leaders to uphold ethical standards, ensure transparency, and foster an environment where research integrity is paramount. Now, without further ado, let's get started. It is my pleasure to introduce our speaker, Professor Abriza Abdullah, who is a distinguished scholar with a bachelor's degree in environmental engineering from Temple University, Philadelphia. And she holds a master's and PhD in library and information science from the University of Malaya. Her research interests include digital libraries, information behavior, scholarly communication, and bibliometrics. Professor Abriza has also conducted a few open science initiatives at regional and international level. So let's welcome Professor Abriza Abdullah to the virtual stage.
Thank you very much, Professor Putri. You can hear me clear? Okay, Alhamdulillah. All right, thank you. First of all, thank you to the organizer, for this kind invitation, for thinking of me, and indirectly, I would say that I can safely say that whatever I'm going to share today, can further confirm that there is a need for transformational leadership when thought leaders and also the main players in open science in context of Malaysia to further advocate this concept, or I would say this movement or phenomena. So this particular theme has been given to me, open science and leadership accountability. However, I have titled my I have titled my presentation as such, Empowering Open Science, How Transformational Leaders, in this context, research leaders, in whatever capacity they are doing, shape the future of scholarly publishing. So the one particular pillar in open science is open access. So I'm going to just zoom into scholarly publishing because I'm very comfortable to talk about this, and this is what I have been advocating even at the international level. Okay, so it's very important for the audience to know my involvement with openness in scholarly publishing, because this actually will influence how I, advocate this and hopefully motivate the audience to participate in open science, to practice open science, and also reflects on who am I and where do I come from. Okay, I started my professional journey in the openness and transparency in scholarly publishing through being an editorial member of a journal. Yeah, it is a homegrown journal. At present, we call the homegrown journal as a diamond or platinum journal. And from there, my research group at that time, yeah, having a mentor that actually exhibit and demonstrate transformational leadership. I would like to acknowledge her, Professor Dr. Zainab Awangah, yeah, developing various, small initiatives uh, to uh, 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 to advocate transparency and openness in research. And somehow these small initiatives through Malaysian abstracting indexing system, my eyes, has gained traction. The Ministry of Education to develop it further for as a journal hosting system, Malaysian journal hosting system. I'm very sure most of you are very familiar with my journal, and also our homegrown citation index system called MySite. Yeah, at that particular time in 2011, we completed this project, and the Ministry of Higher Education at that time uh, took up this project, okay, to be a project at the national level and at the regional level. My site is also an actor under the ASEAN Citation Index System. Okay, so what actually, make me fully understand about the need for openness, yeah, open science, openness in scholarly publishing is my involvement, especially the recent one. For 2 years, I've been involving myself with the International Science Council on the future of scientific publishing and open science, of which this particular ISC on this project, okay, helped me to further understand and participate and advocate and try to inspire people to practice openness and transparency, not only when they do research, but also disseminating their research. And my involvement with the 10-year-old Habijahs project, you can Google this project, helped me to further understand and emphasize the importance of collaboration, okay, in making sure that people acknowledge your openness and transparency, because that is actually the key in open science, yeah? International collaboration, which also has been emphasized by our previous speaker just now. So actually, ladies and gentlemen, you can use academic mobility and also Tan Sri's sustainable development approach just now, yeah, as a tool to practice and also to propagate in open science. However, not all open science concept or practices actually works for me. Yeah, what works for me is the affordable open access journals. Yeah, the diamond open access that do not charge any APC. Okay, I would like to highlight once again that I only focus on openness and transparency in the one particular pillar of open science, that is open access. Yeah, so what works for me is actually about transparent data sharing and methodology disclosure in my paper, and also in terms of disseminating disseminating my research output. It is just not confined to only journals, yeah, but also sharing the research output very much early in the research process through preprints. And also international disciplinary collaboration is key in open science, because when you work together with international partners, they can also be your peer review and your other sets of eyes, yeah? Because you are working together and make sure that everything is adhere to responsible research, because in the end, we, the researchers, are accountable to what we produce. Okay, but what does not work for me is the gold open access, because it's charged unreasonable APC. And we know that this is the issue nowadays, that people actually misunderstand, or they have misconception about publishing in APC-based journal. This is something that perhaps later on we can discuss, hopefully during Q&A. Okay, so this is the purpose of my session. I'm sharing this slide to all the audience so that you can actually look further the text that I have actually incorporated. The purpose actually is to provide an overview of how transformational leadership can significantly contribute to the advancement of open science. And these are the 3 objectives, and I hope that the third objective, the third bullet, will be achieved later on after 25 minutes. That is, I hope that this session will motivate audience to apply transformational leadership attributes in your own work, because as researchers, you are leader in your own work. Yeah. So this particular concept, transformational leadership in open science, does not only work for the top management or perhaps the management of a university or research institution. It applies to the various actors in open science. Okay, so what open means to me, and I believe this is what means to all researchers, all academic researchers. Yeah, that the purpose of scholarly publishing, the purpose of you doing research and publish is all about openness and transparency. Openness and transparency is the key in science. Yeah, so every researcher have this scientific fundamental that is to preserve and disseminate records of science, make knowledge claims to maintain rigor, and communicate results of scientific inquiry promptly. So if you uphold these scientific fundamentals, you will not have any objection if you are given a particular KPI of publishing, because as a researcher, our research is not complete until we publish. So if you are a researcher, you have the scientific fundamental to communicate results of your scientific inquiry promptly to various stakeholders that requires or that might benefit from your research. And also not only the scientific fundamentals, but you also have the scientific responsibility. Yeah. Okay, so to be globally inclusive, ideas, evidence to circulate freely, meaning that you need to share, disseminate them well so that others can benefit from your research, and also to preserve for future generation. So if you uphold these scientific responsibilities, you might or you will be more accountable to your research and make sure that your research will be permanent. We have issues nowadays where research after published for being through 3 years or even after 12 years, the research output is being retracted. Yeah, so this is the issue that we have now with the current traditional publishing, because our researchers, they do not really uphold the core concept of transparency and openness in terms of scientific fundamentals and scientific responsibility. Okay, so I'm setting the scene here, just like our previous speaker, that open science will change, will transform definitely the landscape of today's research, the practice and the behavior, the attitude of researchers towards, publishing, towards creating their research output, towards writing, and also towards disseminating their research output. Yeah, in a more transparent and more impactful way. Okay, science requires the scientists or the researchers, the scholars, okay, to develop a methodology that is rigor and enabled by the technology affordance nowadays, all right, through the internet. And this has led to open science. So UNESCO has come up with various documents, in fact, the International Science Council and various open science initiatives worldwide, they have developed their own, definition for open science. But basically, okay, the open science is a movement. It can also be a school of thought. It can also be a research process. Yeah, but in general, UNESCO define it as a movement to make scientific research accessible to many. Yeah, the scientific research and its output in a form of publications, a data set, maybe codes, and also software, and the various output of research. But the gold standard is actually a peer-reviewed journal articles. So this is the definition of UNESCO. All right. However, in the context of when we look at open science in general, and this also has been disseminated in our national mainstream media, in newspapers. Open science is defined as practices that aim at breaking the barriers, meruntuhkan halangan, breaking the barriers that prevent the free flow of knowledge produced by researchers in all disciplines. So it is not just science. The open science here means ilmu terbuka, but of course we borrow it, we translate it literally, science terbuka, but science here connoted ilmu, that encompass not only science, but also hard social science, soft social science, arts and humanity. Okay. However, the traditional research and publishing nowadays, even when we have this open science movement, there are still issues. Yeah, because so much paper, so much research output are still under the paywall, and even it is made to be made possible, it is to be disseminated as open as possible. It also incur cost on part of the researcher. Yeah, so I hope you understand this. But science is actually a public good. Yeah, science is actually, the research output is actually a public good and should be disseminated freely to the stakeholders, especially the public, because in most cases, the taxpayers' money are actually funding our research, right? So this is basically the concept of open science. So you may you may want to refer to any authoritative definition of open science by various initiatives and various government policies. But UNESCO is one. Okay, so while you Google, okay, about open science, definitely you will come across this particular figure. Yeah, this particular figure actually by UNESCO encapsulate what is actually open science and the various pillars. Okay, so what I'm going to talk about with you today is on the open scientific knowledge, and one particular pillar is on the scientific publications. Okay, so that's why I share about who am I, where do I come from, because there are various pillars in open science, and there are various thought leaders that are actually advocating specific pillars. For example, we have people in Malaysia now advocating citizen science, open data, for example, open metrics. Yeah, so I'm going to focus on open access in terms of scientific publications. Okay, so from my observation and experience, and also doing research with scavengers, our research group managed to identify 10 open science actors. And all these actors, okay, they are positioned in research institutions and also academic institutions such as universities. However, there are also actors that are outside the academia, such as commercial publishers, and also technology provider that develop the various platform and also archives and repositories. Okay, so these are the open science sectors, 10 of them, and there should be leaders, there should be people within this 10 actor group that help that actually go and advocate for openness and transparency in scientific publishing. Libraries and librarians are also very important, okay, in being thought leader, in being, a transformational leader in open science. And we have begun to see this, especially among research universities and some and other universities. The academic librarians are very, very, I would say, dedicated to start off, to create conversation or to start developing a small services for the research community to practice open science. So basically, these are the open science initiative globally, and if you can see here, Malaysia has initiated officially and used the term open science officially through a particular infrastructure called Malaysian Open Science Platform, MOSP. Okay, hopefully at this point, our audience, you have actually come across this Malaysian Open Science Platform. Okay, and without leaders, thought leaders, okay, this particular movement or this particular platform cannot exist. All right, so the focus of Malaysia Open Science Platform is actually to make research data as valuable national assets. Okay, so we have a platform, we have developed it, and it is now available, and most all research universities and some research institute under the ministry, under MOSTI, have become the player or the actor in this particular platform. But let me emphasize that is Malaysian research data here only focus, MOSP here only now focus on research data. Okay, so you can see here that the movement is now towards research data. And if you do not, if let's say researchers, audience, if you do not prepare yourself in actually taking care of your research data, and started to think of transparency, practice transparency and research in sharing your research data, or make the information or the record of science of your data available when the time come. Okay, if let's say in about 5 or 6 years times, when the policymakers has started to recognize research data as an output, you will be left behind. Yeah, so we hope that under open science, nobody is going to be left behind. So it's going to be inclusive, transparent, more diversified, and the researchers will be more accountable in their research workflow, and also disseminating their research. Okay, all right. Okay, again, when you Google open science, I believe everybody now is starting to Google and look at open science. Yeah, you will definitely find this particular figure. Yeah, this particular diagram is a popular diagram, and we adopt this under Creative Commons license, which is actually that is advocated by open science. Yeah. That address the issues in the current way of people doing research and disseminating their research. Okay, so basically these are the benefits of open science. I do not want to go through this that much, but when we talk about one of the benefit is that the public can access your research findings. Okay, and of course there are actually benefits to you as a researcher, because it will somehow, research has shown that when you are more open in sharing your research, your research output will garner more citations, and it will contribute to your higher citations rate. But for me, the main benefit is that people will be your research output will be more accessible. More people will benefit from your research, and you can actually, as a researcher, develop your scholarly reputation. People will know you more if you are more transparent, all right, and open in doing your research. Yeah, so open science can be the tool to develop your scholarly reputation, all right, because I believe in future scholarly reputation is not just being gauged through citation rate or H index, all right. So there will be more open metrics, alternative metrics that can gauge openness and transparency, and we have seen this, being initiated, all right, by various entities, all right. Okay. Okay, let me go on. So I've mentioned just now about science as a public good, and these are the two important lens, okay, that every researcher should uphold. That is the scientific fundamental of science of research, and also the scientific responsibilities. Yeah, to preserve and disseminate the record of science, and to be globally inclusive. So this will be the responsibility of all researchers to preserve and disseminate the record of science, not just the library, okay, or your institution, UM expert, for example. It is also the responsibility of the researcher. Yeah. Okay, let me go on. All right. So when we're talking about this open science, how can we relate this to leadership or transformational leadership? So I've put a question here. How can transformational leadership in open science will maximize benefits to the global science across all regions, to the wider audience, regardless of the discipline of the researchers, for the benefit of the society, okay, while ensuring inclusivity and also accountability. Okay, so this is the definition that I have developed, all right? Of course, with the help of ChatGPT, that's why I'm very transparent, yeah, in the way I know. So when one actually indicator is that in transparency and openness in research, you should be very transparent in identifying who are the actors, okay, in the research output. who will be the authors, for example, the authorship line, for example, all right, who contribute on the research. So this is one indicator, but somehow the use of artificial intelligence has not been really incorporated, you know, in open science framework, but definitely there will be in the next maybe a few months. Yeah. So transformational leadership in open science refers to the leadership style that inspire and motivate researchers to embrace openness and transparency. So the outcome of this practice is actually to, you know, to inculcate, in accountability, accessibility, collaboration, especially international collaboration, and also inclusivity in doing research, and demonstrated by 5 attributes. So these are the 5 attributes, and I will relate all these 5 attributes, okay, to how you can actually practice it in open science, openness and transparency. So in terms of vision and strategy, have a compelling vision that aligns with openness, transparency, and collaboration. So I would suggest that every research portfolio, deputy vice chancellor will need to revisit, okay, the vision and strategy of your academic community doing research, having a compelling vision that aligns with the core principles of openness, transparency, and collaboration. Okay, and also through this, you can articulate a clear strategy of what open science can achieve. So if this is the case, then open science or the lens of openness and transparency should be incorporated in the strategic plan of the Deputy Vice Chancellor, PNI, and also the various entities under, you know, under faculties and also research institute in Malaysian universities. Okay, the next attribute is inspiration and motivation. Okay, we have benefited from the previous two sessions. Just now we talk about leaders, transformation leaders, inspiring their teams, inspiring their subordinates. Lead by example has been emphasized a few times, and also celebrate success in terms of researchers practicing openness and transparency. So this is what I observe. Yeah, universities nowadays, when we have people with highly cited papers, people with high H index, you do celebrate them in terms of developing posters and all that to be circulated. This is what I noticed, but somehow there are very good practices that need to be highlighted to the academic community, such as the researchers that, you know, practice openness and transparency. So why don't you celebrate the successes of these people? All right, those who have actually, for example, people who your team of researchers that have developed a very good data set and shared it to the community, in the genome project, for example, all right, data sets that are used by Johns Hopkins University, for example, we have these researchers, researchers that have developed a large data set of seaweeds, for example, for marine and ocean science. So these are the things that somehow are being left behind because they in the end, they produce very, very good papers. But there are actually practices that need to be celebrated, okay, by that need to be acknowledged in terms of openness. Yeah, openness. Okay, so the third attribute is intellectual simulation. Yeah, where transformational leaders will create an environment that encourage researchers to think outside the box and explore new ideas and invite them. Okay, create conversation with them. For example, if in terms of nowadays, we understand that researchers need more money. Researchers needs more money. Need to incorporate APC in their research grant. Yeah, somehow not all research grant or maybe grant funder, are sensitive to this, or perhaps they do not have this in their framework. And very much so, we see that the social sciences are a bit left behind, the arts and humanities, because they might not be aware with this APC, or maybe there are less journals on in their field that requires APC. Okay, to publish. All right. So this is where you need to create conversation with the researchers, especially young researchers, on the issue of them publishing, because if our research leaders do not understand the issue now, what is happening actually around the world, and especially in the global south, and especially with early career researchers, where they do feel that journals that require APC are the journals of the last resort. You know, they go to this journal because that is the only way for them to publish. But somehow that is just not right. Okay, with the concept of or with the objective of us disseminating our work. Yeah. So this is where our research leaders, you know, transformational leaders that go that practice or advocate open science need to, you know, stimulate intellectual thought, okay, from our researchers, all right, where we have a session of sumbang saran or maybe forum, meet them once in a while and invite them and discuss about the issues and how they would like the research landscape in terms of publishing, scholarly communication, be changed, for example, or transform or reform in the context of Malaysia. Yeah, because in the global south, we have seen this happening very, very, I would say encouraging in Latin America, where the policymakers have started to recognize researchers publishing at the article level. So there is no requirement for them actually to publish in a journal. So preprints and also preprints and e-life has actually been merited as a publication as well. So this has not been happening, of course, in this region. It has yet to, because we still go for the traditional way of publishing and also being recognized in terms of reputation through the traditional metrics using closed technology providers such as metrics from Scopus and also Web of Science. Okay, so the third attribute is about individualized consideration. This also relate to the earlier, intellectual simulation. Is on inclusive research practices and also cultural competence. Yeah, so research leaders should also champion inclusive research practices, where there are also research, disciplines that are not able or perhaps are not, being meaning that the way they produce research output and also disseminate their research output will not be in the form of scientific publications. Okay, so there are small group of these people, I believe, in some universities, but that is a way for them, to practice scholarly publishing through other opportunities that can benefit them, yeah, that can benefit their own research community. Okay, for example, performing arts, for example, yeah, creative arts, for example. All right, of course, there are scientific publications that can relate to this, but there are also ways that they can produce their scientific output. Okay, for example, in the form of performance. See where they perform. Petronas Philharmonic, for example, if they perform well, it can be merited as a scientific publication as well, because that requires I would say hours and hours of practice, that can also be incorporated as how you do research and producing a research paper. Okay, the last attributes is accountability and integrity. Yes, this is a must, all right, where transformational leaders and relate to this particular topic on accountability, we must always go for high ethical standards in research, promoting accountability and integrity. Okay, so this is all research about. It is not just because of open science you need to promote accountability and integrity. Yeah, research or science has always been there. It is about responsible research. It is about ethics and integrity. And finally, it's about public trust. Yeah. So with having this particular attribute, all right, we can help the public to trust in us, to trust in academia, to trust in our research, and in the end, okay, enhance and impact our scientific research. So these are the 5 attributes that I have come up with, and let me just talk a little bit about a particular pillar in open science that I would like to advocate here on open access. So I'm not going to go to this in details, but I do believe many of us here are now publishing in open access journals. Yeah. Okay. All right. So basically, there are two main routes to open access. Yeah, it's either the gold route or the green route. All right, gold or green. So gold is in a form of publication in an open access journal, but this particular, because of the need for the researcher, for the author to subsidize reading, yeah, the author needs to pay. And very often, it should be funded by the institution or a funder, yeah, research funder. Another way of um, uh, open access is through the green. Yeah, green will requires the author or the copyright owner to self-archive the publication in a repository. We are doing this very well. The goal, publishing, but at the same time, you make your research output available through an open access repository, normally manned by the academic libraries or in an IR. Okay, so these are the two main routes. However, these two main routes, okay, has issues. Okay, these are the issues there. Okay, researchers, they do not want to archive their paper in institutional repository. They kata copyright issue and all that, but definitely, okay, in general, researchers are very cautious about sharing their work in an IR. And there have been research saying that they don't mind sharing their research in other repository platform international like Zenodo, Fiction, and all that. When it comes to populating their research output in their own IR or even in their web CV, they do not want to share. Okay, so this is something that needs to be tackled, all right, to be addressed. But because of these issues such as the funding models and also misconceptions of people on the prestige of open access journal, all right, it does not work. It just does not work. Yeah. And one thing is that of the financial burden. All right. Many gold open access journal now, they charge very, very high APC. High APC to the point that it is like a second hand Proton Saga sampai 15,000, you know. And for this, people from the low income regions or institutions or research discipline that cannot afford or with limited funding, they cannot just publish. All right. So this is now the deficits or the shortcomings that need to be addressed. And these are the issues with gold open access publishing for the global south. Yeah, America, Latin Africa, they have actually, issues with this, and even people from our region. All right. Even Nigeria, which is considered as a low-income country, are not listed in any country that can be subsidized with APC. Okay, so these are the issues. And one particular issue that we have in Malaysia is that the quality concerns raised by open access journal, APC-based journal. All right, to the point that there are now journals that have not been recognized by the ministry to bear APC, which I call the gray journal, the gray journal. All right, yeah. So these are the issues, and also about the cultural and academic resistance, national policies. I'm not sure about these national policies in Malaysia, but I can see that certain policies in university where you only recognize journals, open access journals in the Web of Science that in the Q1 or Q2. You see? So Q1, Q2 Web of Science, you subsidize APC. But not all disciplines, all right, can actually merit from this, because categorization of journals in the Web of Science and Scopus can be misleading. Yeah, can be misleading. Yeah, for example, in my field, Library Science Information Management, the Q1 and the Q2 journals are not journals in LIS. They are journals in Information System or Information Science. So the most, we cannot benefit actually from this kind of policies if it is very rigid in terms of publication. Okay, let me spend another 5 more minutes. Okay, so what I'm going to advocate here, as many of us in the Global South, researchers in the Global South advocate, is that let us move from green OA, okay, to preprint server. And let us move from gold open access, gold journals, to diamond journals. All right. So this is what we are going to advocate, okay, for people from the Global South. Yeah, because people from the Global North has actually been doing this and they really benefit from this. Okay, so transformational leaders can play a crucial role in advocating for diamond open access journals and the normalization of preprint servers. I have actually talked about it at the Council of Science Editors, and they are happy with this. But of course, yeah, the commercial publishers might be a bit, but that is okay, because we are now talking about how we can actually, empower our researchers so that they have the choice. So they have the choice in publishing where they in publishing their research, and not only on the choice of identifying where to publish. Okay, so this diamond platinum, there are many of them in Malaysia. Yeah, there are many of them in Malaysia, and they are very, very good journals that are published by university press, our institutions, even faculties and departments. All right. So these are the homegrown journals, community-driven journals, academic-led journals, and they are owned by the academic community. Yeah. However, this model is that neither authors or readers are required to pay. Okay, actually, we can actually play, we can actually encourage or saying that the institution are actually bearing the cost of publication. Yeah, because when editors are being appointed, editorial board, you are not being paid for that. All right, because that is a salary and that is an expectation for you to do this for your research community. Okay, so the cost of publishing are actually borne by the university or the institution, or maybe sponsorship from for societies and association. Okay, so in Malaysia there are many diamond journals. However, because of certain deficits that needs to be, and then maybe certain certain strategy of making the journal more visible, some journals have begun to charge. Some diamond journals in Malaysia have begun to embrace the gold open access, meaning that they do charge. Yeah, because there is a misconception of when it is an APC journal, it is always good, it is always quality. All right. So this is something that the transformational leader in open science, leaders in open science has to motivate or inspire, or maybe create more conversations about the need of encouraging them or giving merit to diamond journals. Yeah. Okay, so this is what I have listed. Transformational leaders can advocate for diamond open access by promoting institutional support and policies, build and support diamond open access journals, advocate for sustainable funding models, and engaging in policy advocacy. Now, let me share with you China. Yeah, for the past 2 years, the government has realized that 90% of the APC goes to commercial publishers. This has been published in Nature. All right. So China has actually started to move, to merit their own national journals. Yeah, they really take care of the national journal. They give a certain assessment or ranking of the national journal, just like what Malaysia is doing through my site. Okay, so these are the challenges of being diamond or platinum journals. Yeah, and these challenges can actually, be supported or be addressed by the universities. So for Malaysia, there is actually a clear plan to improve the performance of Malaysian open access that are mainly diamond journals. And there is a clear plan to get the indexation status of Malaysian journals. This has happened since 2011 with the setup of the Malaysian Citation Center, of which I would like to record here that there is a need for universities to come up together, university leaders to come up together, whether there is a need for us, for the ministry, to revive this Malaysian Citation Center. Yeah, that is a wonderful job that has been done here for Malaysian journals that has attracted the attention of people from the global south. They are very impressed with the way we take care of our diamond journals. All right. But this has to be taken up further. You see, the development of this has managed from when we first start this journal, the first is only 200 journal je dekat dalam sistem ni. But now we have 164 in my journals, and through the 10 years, we managed to see more and more journals are being indexed in Scopus. For Malaysian journals, mana ada negara yang sampai, negara Asia Tenggara ni yang sampai 118 journal dekat Scopus. Okay, and for the past 2 years, more and more journals are being indexed in WAS under the index ESCI. Yeah, although the number of journals in WAS tak banyak lagi because a certain, very strict upper requirement to have it indexed in the core indices, so social science citation and arts humanities and science citation index. It does not that much lah. Dah lama pun masih lagi 13, 15 sekarang. Alright, but we can see there is actually a good future for Malaysian journals, and this initiative should not be abandoned. It should be teruskan. It should be sustainable. So this is the issue now about sustainability, okay, of diamond open access journals in Malaysia. This is the issue that I believe many professors, they are concerned about this, and perhaps Akademi Profesor Negara pun cubalah tengok-tengokkan apa yang boleh kita buat ya untuk teruskan agenda antarbangsaan jurnal-jurnal Malaysia yang khususnya diamond journals ya. Because more and more diamond journals are now charging. Alright, it is fine, but it should be affordable. It is okay, but it should be affordable. Yeah. Okay, so that is on the diamond. Now let us go to normalization of preprint servers. So we see now there are so many reputable preprint servers that people use, okay, to disseminate their research output very much early before the publication or the article is being published in journals, right? So please let us take advantage of this movement, okay, of normalizing preprint servers for Malaysian researchers. There are so many benefits for this, and somehow preprint, it has not been recognized, okay, as a research output in many universities, including University Malaya. So something that the ministry can do, Ministry of Education, is that preprints can also be, an indicator of early publication when they put forward their application for FRGS. This is a good one, yeah, a good practice. All right, perhaps we can advocate for this. And most of the preprints, archive.org, bioarchive, Chem Archive, even SSN, they are now have been captured or been indexed by Web of Science and Scopus. You see, even Indonesia, they have started to develop a preprint server for the Indonesian community because not everybody can afford to publish in journals, yeah, and the need for certain disciplines to disseminate your research output as early as possible. So you do not have to wait for publication in journals. So this is what I would like to advocate here, early publications through normalizing preprint servers. So these are the benefits of normalizing preprint servers for the scholarly community. And these are the 4 suggestions that how leaders can normalize preprint servers. Encourage preprint submissions. Although it has not been recognized as a research output. Dalam MyRA pun tak ada lagi, yeah. But some countries have actually been doing it for research assessment. All right, maybe start to encourage this practice, because preprints can also garner citations, and the citations, if captured in Web of Science, if the preprint server is captured in the Web of Science, it is going to count into citations. So in the Web of Science nowadays, we have these citations, right? And then we have citations from books and also citations from preprints. But make sure that the preprints that you submitted to are of reputation. And it is not easy actually when you submit to a good preprint server. There is a group of science community that is going to assess, going to review your preprint. All right. So the issue or the concern about preprint not being peer-reviewed should be put aside for now, because what we want to see is the practice of being more transparent, more accountable. Yeah, cepat publish. All right, jangan tunggu lambat. Yeah. Okay. So. Yeah. 1 more minute, Prof. Putri. Okay. These are the principles for scientific publishing that the International Council have been advocating, and the first one is affordable, universal, open access. Yeah, okay, and many countries have started to adopt these principles. All right, all these principles are being published, okay, by the international councils, and these publications are available full text. And I do hope that universities can start disseminating all these publications to your research community. Okay, and in these publications, especially under the opening the record of science, yeah, there are things that can be normalized by the researcher, and also there are areas that can be further developed, enhanced, and implemented by universities or the research institution. And in terms of policymakers, governance is very important. So I have actually boxed the various aspects of the options for reform, in which normalized preprint servers and also concurrent deposition of data with fair principles. Okay, however, data is not being captured here. Yeah. Okay. So to conclude, I would say that diamond journals normalization of preprint servers is very crucial nowadays, especially for the global south, to advance open science. Yeah. So transformational leaders can drive the adoption of this, and hopefully, yeah, although although it takes time, but it can create a more open, collaborative, and efficient scientific ecosystem that can benefit not only our researchers and policymakers, and also society. So again, I would like to highlight the publications. There are 5 of them now. These are all related to the future of scientific publishing. And the current one is the Case for Reform of Scientific Publishing, of which I'm one of the committee members that come up with this reform. And China, Australia, in fact, a White House has actually considered the 8 principles of the future, or the reform, not transform, but the reform of scientific publishing in the light of open science. With that, I would like to thank everybody for still being with me. And also tomorrow, there will be a UNESCO recommendation open science training, regional training. So if you are interested, you can just register for you to participate in this conversation at 1 to 3 p.m. Malaysian time. So thank you very much, Professor Putri, and also the audience, for your for giving me the opportunity to advocate to advocate this open science, in my capacity, I would say, as somebody from the library and information science that also advocate this for our kementerian, to pursue further. All right, thank you very much. Assalamualaikum.
Okay, thank you again, Prof. Abiza, for very insightful and interesting sharing. Okay. Before I move on to our last speaker here, I would like to welcome one question from to Prof. Abiza. Okay, there is one question on this. What strategies can academic institutions employ to provide incentive to researchers to embrace open science while ensuring fair recognition and credit? I will repeat the question. What strategies can academic institutions employ to provide incentive to researchers to embrace open science while ensuring fair recognition and credit?
Okay, so it depends. Well, yeah, hello. Okay, that depends on the open science practice that the university is advocating. Okay, for example, if you would like to merit your researchers in their data sharing, open data, what you can do is provide them the facilities, the infrastructure, high performance computing, for example, a repository, or maybe an account in Zenodo or Figshare. Not for them lah, for your researchers. You can merit your researchers. You can have university can subscribe Zenodo or Figshare, for example. This is one example. All right, if you have money. Then again, if you are meriting open access, many universities are actually supporting APC. But do you support publication or do you support open science? So this is the issue. Yeah. But I do not see universities creating, any conversation or maybe incorporating in their strategic plan about transparency and openness, and why they would like the researcher to publish it very much early. And if you publish very much early, then the way to do so is to go for the gold journal. Okay, so you give me merit. You give merit, not just saying that, okay, you go for Q1 and Q2 in WAS, for example. Okay, so it has to be in a form of strategy that can motivate and can make the researcher feel being supported, or giving incentive in the way they want to publish their publish what they have, and also publish their research. So that is for open access. Another one can be open citizen. So one way is that, we are talking about contribution to society, outreach, engagement, right? Incorporation of industry and also the public in your research. So that is where you can have a special research grant that can take care for this, where the research grant can incorporate the participation of the public in your research through open science. So we have a lot of research that we use actually the public lah yang tolong cari nyamuk, kumbang, apa semua kan, collect ikan dan sebagainya. You see, so you can actually merit your researchers, All right, give recognition to the researchers and also incorporate the public involvement through citizen science project. This is some examples, Prof. Putri.
All right. Thank you again, Prof. Abiza. All right. We will move on to the next session. Okay, but before we move on to the next session, I would like to remind the audience that there will be a photo session at the end of this session. Yeah. So please stay on. An attendance link, I think it has been provided earlier. So please fill in the link. Okay. I would like to introduce Prof. Abi. Prof. Abi is the final speaker for today. Prof. Abi Virakumarasivam is a geneticist, educator, and science communicator trained at the University of Cambridge. Currently, he is the provost of Sunway University. He previously served as the Dean of the Scholar and Medical and Life Sciences. His research focuses on tumor recurrence, invasion, and Asian genetic variations, influencing disease risk and therapy response. He has received numerous accolades, including the National Cancer Council Malaysia Cancer Research Award, the Merdeka Award grant. In 2016, he became the first Asian to win Best Science Communicator at the International Fame Lab Finals. Okay, Professor Abi will talk about leadership exemplary researchers. Okay, but due to technical problem, Prof. Abi has submitted a video recording for his speech, but we are unable to share the video recording here. So we will share the link to the video so that the audience will have it. We will share the link at APM website and also at YouTube. So please hold on to the link. We will share it later. I will now pass this to Dr. Azman for the next session.
Thank you very much, Associate Professor Dr. Putri, for moderating the fruitful session from the first speaker until the last one. And I believe we have exit 1 o'clock. Yeah. Now, I would like to invite our Assistant Vice Chancellor, Professor Dr. Ismiroha Muhammad Jais, Assistant Vice Chancellor Strategic Communications, to conclude our webinar. So please welcome Professor Dr. Ismiroha.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh, and a very pleasant afternoon. Thank you very much to Associate Professor Dr. Azman and also Associate Professor Dr. Putri for handling our webinar session this afternoon. Allow me to begin with our salutation today. Professor Emeritus Dr. Jamal Uthman, President of APM, Professor Technologies Dr. Zaidatun Tasir, Chairperson, Education and Human Development Cluster, Academy Professor Malaysia. Our distinguished speakers, allow me to mention each and every one of them for making their time in having this webinar to be organized today. Yang berbahagia Tan Sri Dr. Nurul Aino Muhammad Noor, Professor Dr. Abriza Abdullah, Professor Abi Mahyun, although he is not with us online, but he has kindly shared his leadership recording. We have also with us Associate Professor Dr. Muhiza Mustafa, and of course our international counterpart, who's a very busy person but has cordially made time for us today, Associate Professor Dr. Ramian. And we are very proud to have everybody on the platform to be with us today. Distinguished speakers, thank you very much for your sharing as we see this webinar as a time where we learn, and we hope we will use the knowledge and experiences and all the invaluable insights from the speakers in order for us to move forward in terms of higher education leadership. From the team of VCSP Team 9 UITM and in collaboration with the Cluster of Education and Human Development Academy Professor Malaysia, our utmost gratitude to Professor Emeritus Dr. Jamal Othman, President of Academy Professor Malaysia, for the strategic partnership in hosting this webinar. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, the purpose of this VCSP is to document as much as possible the tacit knowledge of prominent leaders in the higher education sector, especially in the area of leadership. This is to ensure that we have a continuity of knowledge and experiences that can contribute to the body of knowledge in leadership. As we listen to all the speakers today, all these are very, I would say, prominent and well-renowned speakers locally as well as internationally. And they have shared with us their leadership recipe, and I would say secret recipe in different segments of higher education. And this by far has given the team the opportunity to transfer the sharing into brief reading in the future as we acknowledge the importance of documenting this effort. Interestingly, we have a combination of our local speakers and an international speaker who have put forward current scenarios of higher education. For example, mention big words like artificial intelligence. Yeah, we have AI that is dominating the world of education today and also all sectors of life. We also listen to the relationship of higher education in relation to SDG. We've heard of the worldview of leadership, pertinent qualities which are shared, big words like empathy, resilience, cultural competence, leading by example, and of course, many more. So thank you very much once again to all who have been here, who have supported this particular webinar, for us to continuously learn and for us to continuously lead each other from within. It is very important that when we talk about leadership, we believe that listening to all the speakers, there is no definite algorithm that will give us an absolute answer to how we resolve leadership issues in higher education. So that is why webinar as such is very important, so that we are able to embrace tacit knowledge of real leaders in our higher education sector. So on behalf of the team of VCSP Team 9, our theme for this particular project is leadership and knowledge management. We would like to see leadership from the angle of how we can document all these experiences from the perspective of knowledge management. On the side of UITM and APM, we would like to once again apologize for the technical inconveniences to those who wanted to join us very much earlier via the Zoom. However, we had a bit of limited capacity in terms of access, and we immediately, in fact, shared via YouTube, so everybody was able to actually fetch the videos and also to watch live and listen to all speakers via our YouTube link. So once again, thank you very much to everyone. Have a pleasant day, and sekian wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh. Please don't leave the platform yet, because we would like to have a group photo or a group session with everyone. So if you are able to switch on your camera, we would be very honored to have you on our screen. Thank you very much, everyone. I was Okay, are we ready?
Okay. Please switch on your camera. Switch on your camera. Okay. Okay. Right. Be ready. One, two.
We have 3 pages. Click to the second page.
Two.
Okay, the third page.
Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, everyone. Have a pleasant day. We appreciate feedback. And if you would like to communicate with us, please do so. You can communicate with me via my email, ismi@uitm.edu.my, ISMIE. Thank you very much, everyone. Have a pleasant day.
Send sekali attendance ni.
You want to say something?
Okay, yeah. Thank you very much, Professor Ismi, for the impactful closing remarks. Now we reach the end of the event. Just a gentle reminder, please complete the registration form, because we need the form to issue a certificate for your participation. And as mentioned by Professor Ismi, the technical features at the beginning of the event or perhaps in the middle of the event is beyond our control, but we do apologize for that. But this is quite common in having this kind of webinar. We appreciate your understanding. And to all team members on our side here, we really apologize for any shortcoming that happened during this session. And we hope we can meet again, right? Inshallah, on one fine day, inshallah. And then thank you very much. Till then, Assalamualaikum and goodbye.